Whoa, it is Awestruck Comics Podcast. We're doing it again. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Doing great. We're getting up on the socials. I want to put some more stuff on my social. I'm Idiosyncratic Pulp. I got a couple things that I got this week I want to put up, and I might start doing another multi thing. I recently got the John Carter Warlord of Mars
Is that a multi thing?
Omnibus. So the multi thing is basically like I want to take, and then my dad got me a Dark Horse reprint of John Carter, the Marvel John Carter Warlord of Mars, which is in black and white. Which at the time when I got it, I was like, oh, because they didn't have a reprint of it. I was like, I don't really want this in black and white. Now I
Right.
love it. Now that I have
Of
it, I'm like,
course.
oh. But I have a lot of the original issues too, so I might do the last part. I'm not sure if I'm going to do. I think I should try. And we talked about this a little bit this week. So, and I'll tell you why I think everything is kind of a scam, right? Okay, so if I do what I did years ago was I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I did New Gods #1, Jack Kirby, 72, and I did every panel, I did every cover and panel, page and panel that was in the original print. I took a photo of
Mhm.
the black and white reprint that were toned by Jim Amash. And then I did the reprint. I did the recoloring. I did the
The 80
Baxter.
the 80s
The
Baxter. Okay.
Yeah, the '80s Baxter. Then the recoloring. Then the digital. Right. So it was like five every single day. Here's five versions of this, and some of them are very different because again, he changed the color from original printing. He wanted Orion's eyes to be red when he did the reprints, the Baxters in the 80, 84, 83, 84.
Is this
Anyway,
is this a Jack Kirby approved coloring?
it's I forget who colored the Baxter. It's
But was it
different.
like a was he involved, you think? Like, hey, I'll draw superpowers and you guys get this right?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. There's not enough material because it's not that different. It's not that different than that. I mean, they're still using some of the original color guides. Also, I don't know who colored the originals. That's not anywhere.
It's not
You know,
listed in the book.
it's
Because
not
that is because it
listed.
is interesting coloring for especially for the time.
The first one, yeah, I think it's the rumor is Glennis Ween. I think it's assumed that it's Glennis Ween. Um,
And you can find your this stuff where you put you're posting it on your Instagram,
yeah, that's on my Instagram.
and
On
it's called,
Idiosyncratic Pulp.
and you can
So
spell that for us.
no,
Okay.
it'll be right down there. So I will put it there.
Simultaneously, what you can find what I'm doing, like just for fun, is I still have it's called Maximum Supreme is my one X Twitter page, and that just goes through Supreme. But on my own personal Rob Messick 76, I've been doing like I try to find weird art from all over comics,
Mhm.
but the project I'm doing because I'm also doing it on Facebook in an extreme Liefeld group is I'm posting a new Youngblood cover every day until the launch of the new book, which Liefeld loves, like he loves it. But I'm finding like the cover if it's been colored differently, if it's
Mhm.
in black and white, you know, if I can find a promotional image, I do the same thing. So I'm doing one of
Yeah,
them a day, and
we
that's fine.
want
And people are trying to copy me, but like the quality is way down. Like I just have like the best
you clean
quality
it all up.
images.
You got
I know.
the scans, or you
I'm,
just you have folders upon folders upon folders of stuff. So
if I'm obsessed with something, I want everything. Like
mm,
we've talked in the past about music. You have every Prince
mm,
outtake, B-side, live version, and
right.
I'm the same with the groups that I love, but also in comics. So like I have folders like I started off I have every cover of every Extreme, every Transformers, every Alan Moore, every
Mm.
all the image centric guys I have everything of. And then I also am doing a digital collection of it in case my house burns down. I'm ridiculous. But like
Yeah, but I
knowing
guess
people,
we have the paranoia of like the Eric Larson house burned down, right?
yeah, he told me that story firsthand years ago before he really was telling people. And it's just a heartbreak. He had 100 issues of Savage Dragon drawn as a fan growing up, as a kid. He's just like, here's my comic, here's 100 issues. I just keep drawing it. And they're one of a kinds. And
Right.
he's like, I don't know what was in those stories. Like he tried to do an issue of Savage Dragon last year. This is a great issue of Savage Dragon. He introduced this character, Paul Dragon, who is the pre-image version of Dragon. And they did an
Right.
issue that was his origin. And he's like, yeah, I kind of remember this. I'm talking to my friend here. Here's my mom has a photograph of me holding this comic. So it's like, oh, yeah, that's what happened. Let me use that.
Mm.
But
That's a
Eric
bummer.
Larson's, he's an old man, so he forgets stuff.
Right.
Did I ever
Right.
tell you the story? I'm like, oh, remember you? I was talking to him like, remember you were going to do a Batman Legend of Dark Knight miniseries,
Oh
like a
yeah, he was talking
storyline?
about that.
He's
Yeah.
like, no. I was like, no, you had it. You were going to have him fight Killer Croc. You made a comment about Batman not having lips. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I had to go find the interview in Wizard Magazine #3 where he talks about it, and he's reading it. He's like, I have no memory of this. Like, he goes,
Oh my
this is so weird. No memory.
God.
Be-
Yeah, it's not as if that guy Brian Cunningham, whoever interviewed him, like made it up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh no, no. He totally admits to it. He's like, yeah, yeah. This is, I remember. Because I remember this Lobo miniseries he was going to do Infanticide with
right.
Keith Giffen. I
Oh
remember
man.
he was working on a Nova book because this is all directly pre Savage Dragon. We're gonna do a show one day. You know what? We make a lot of promises on this show. Like, oh, I'm gonna do an episode about this. We're gonna do an episode about this. We'll dig
I
into
think
this.
so.
We will
I
get
think
to it all.
eventually.
I think
Yeah.
we really will get to it all. But like one of the shows we were talking about doing was a pre-image show, like what the image guys were doing right before image, what their plans were, and how image changed that, and how even
Right.
their plans for image itself had changed within that first year. So I think there's a definite interesting story
We
to tell.
we can go through solicits, yeah, with different things, different promo art. We know we kind of obsessed over different promo art. I like having framing the promo art. I have something that I have in here that I'm looking. This might be something I'll buy. I might buy this weekend. It's from England, so but I have it in. I think I have it at the end of this. So, but yeah, so news of the week. I mean, we're gonna my main story that I want to talk about just because I just feel like coverage of everything kind of is crappy. So I don't know. Maybe we need to like kind of cultivate the news a certain way where we can actually give like better details. Because I'm confused on the Always Sunny Abbott Elementary thing. I only seen an ad for it,
Right?
but the ad is for kind of like it's on. It seems like it's the Abbott Elementary because they have the same like. I think that's shot. But when I saw an interview with Rob McElhaney this week, he said it's going to be pretty cool because we're each having a show, and it's going to be from the different viewpoints, so it'll feel very much like an Abbott show, very much like an Always Sunny show. But is that?
Okay.
But there's no season for. There's no active Always Sunny season, and
But
it
there.
just
So the Abbott Elementary comes out this month, right?
yeah, but it almost sounds like they're coming out the same day, but then I don't think so.
No, because I haven't heard anything about a new season for Sunny. In fact, they
No,
stopped doing their podcast. The Sunny guys had a podcast going last
yeah,
season where they were
right.
talking about the writing of the season. They were talking about going through they were going through each episode and reviewing it, like because they hadn't watched that episode since they filmed it.
Years. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
which you know,
Yeah,
which is the same with us. I've only recently started watching our own podcast. Like
mhm,
you stop watching them. I mean, you edit them, but
right,
then you don't.
right.
So it's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way talent is. They don't like to watch themselves.
Well, what was the so that what I thought about because I saw an issue yesterday and I almost bought it. I think I had both of them at one time, but there's a issue of Punisher that Will Spatacchio drew, and is that right? And then
He drew several.
no, but he drew an issue that it's Daredevil Punisher, and then there's a
Oh,
Punisher issue that who drew? No, there's a JR Punisher issue, and it's the same issue. I think it's a Mike Barron, Will Spatacchio, and it's a Innocenti, JR. But that's skinny Punisher, JR skinny Punisher, not
not
JR 400
not
pound Punisher.
Warzone, not
Yeah, yeah,
Warzone.
yeah,
Awesome looking Punisher.
yeah.
Interesting.
It's weird because like yeah, we should even do. I think I talked about this before, where we should do an evolution of JR art because JR art when he first took over Amazing Spider-Man uh, is a different looking Spider-Man that it turns into, and then his Spider-Man kind of gets big and then gets skinny again, right? Um, because
It's
he is drawn
probably
Spider-Man, but his
he
Punisher,
he's inspired by Frank Miller to make him bigger, and then he probably goes back and look at like Ditko Spider Man to make him smaller.
mhm.
Like I could see how you could change.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like he's had a few different inkers. Most of his Spider-Man work is Scott Hanna inks, whereas most of the Thor work or other work is Jansen inks, Klaus
Right.
Jansen inks. So, but his Punisher is, oh man, is Jansen ink Heart of Darkness, the triple, the Ghost Rider,
I'm
Punisher.
not positive.
I think that might be that, but that's like
Feels right.
right in between. That's right in between, And I really liked, even though I didn't like it at first, I didn't like his Ghost Rider because his Ghost Rider is a non-emotional skull head. It doesn't change. Versus Texeira's skull head is very
Yeah, it
animated.
emotes. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is it's that's a choice, sure. But that's Blackheart, and some of that comes from the JRJR kind of pulling from the Daredevil. So interesting, interesting. I never read the second one. Was that Fear? That was Lee Weeks to the second, like the sequel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never read that. So
Yeah.
I
I
guess
think it was like expensive, so I didn't buy it as a teenager. Sometimes
I
these
think it was like 6.95. I feel like there was an extra dollar or two. There was a lot of those Punisher one shots like No Surrender, and they were all like crap. It was like Todd Smith art. No offense, Todd Smith, but like you're not like
it
it's
wasn't the
when
artist at the time that excited us. We weren't as aware of the craft as we are today.
well the
So
prestige format when it first came. I mean, Dark Knight, they used to call it the Dark Knight format, right? So the
right.
prestige format with the first one was Dark Knight Returns, which so when something came into that, then Killing Joke, you know what I mean? So like when
Killing Joke or
it came into
Green
that,
Arrow and the Longbow Hunters, or
right,
like they
right.
were giving us super high quality. I mean, that's Mike Grell. Like
Yeah,
you don't
Hawk
get
World,
better than right.
right.
Yeah,
Tim
Tim
Truman.
Truman. So they were giving us really good Batman the Cult.
Right.
Bernie
Yeah.
Wright's in it, Bill Ray, and you know.
Jim Starlin.
So, but Marvel definitely cheaped out on some of theirs square bounds. DC, I think, might have just held it together better. I know they used that format a
Mhm.
lot when they started the Elseworlds. We got back, Gotham by Gaslight.
Right. Right.
But Marvel gave us like what was the Wolverine, Sabretooth?
Reign of Terror.
No,
Oh.
the no, that one wasn't bad. That was
Oh,
Peter
that was
David, right?
Designer
Yeah,
Jeans.
designer jeans.
Yeah, which was
Like,
Scott McDaniel.
but early Scott McDaniel,
Early Scott McDaniel.
not
Right.
like great Scott McDaniel.
It was before his Daredevil run. So it was like not quite there. So
So was it?
yeah.
So it was Carl Potts. Was he the editor that was infamous for just having like if you stop getting new Punisher artwork, he had drawers full of stories like fill-ins that were just ready. Like he could have
Yeah, it
did
was
Punisher
either
for years.
I want to say it was Carl Potts or Dan Daly, but Dan Daly, I believe, is the guy because Mike Barron threw him under the bus recently. So Mike Barron was on an interview podcast, and they were saying like, didn't you turn Punisher black for a few issues? And he's like, I don't really want to talk about it, but that was an editorial mandate. He's like, but I did the best I could because I went back and I read all these old books about like culture, and they did like a Black Like Me type of thing. I always think of the sketch, the Eddie Murphy sketch where he was like white, and then he went on the
When he
bus,
goes
right?
into the yeah,
And then they all give everyone champagne when the one black guy goes off.
I
Goes
love when he
off.
goes into the bank for a loan, and they're like, "Here, just take the money. You don't even have to pay us back."
Oh my God, that's so bad. That's so bad.
Or wait a minute, yeah, what's the name? Yeah, that was really good. You don't even have to pay us back. Like,
Whenever I think of Saturday Night Live and Bank, I think of Change Bank and the two Change Bank sketches
oh
that Kevin Nealon gave it back to Jim Downing.
yeah,
He's like, I can't do it.
like
I
I can't
can't
do it as
deadpan it
good
the right
as
way.
you. Yeah,
So can you do it? And look up Change Banks to SNL. That's one of my favorite sketches, probably. Well, that's perfect. That's a
it is a
perfect
perfect.
dry
It's so
uh
dry. It's like the
sketch.
driest.
Yeah, that's the best. But let's hook up the screen shares, and I got a handful of news, but news wasn't super heavy this week. So at the end of this, if you want to stay tuned or skip to the end, you can see I went to a couple shops. I'd say two and a half shops. Okay, I'll explain that later. How it wasn't that successful this Saturday. Not that I need to shop every week, per se, but if I'm near a spot,
But you kind of do.
I'm gonna check it out.
If
You know what
you
I mean?
go on vacation, we are definitely finding the local comic store.
That was always it. Remember the 1-800 comic book locator
Oh yeah,
service? That was
right,
always a
right.
thing. Whenever we would go, I'm like, all right, put the zip code in and try to map it and stuff like that. So yeah, that was always
Or
a
worse,
thing.
get out the yellow pages, and then you look up comic stores. But like you hope the comic store begins with comic, otherwise it's harder to find.
Right. Yeah. Comic, right, exactly.
Like
Uh,
it's the comic zone. Oh, cool. But if it's like Joe's House of Comics, it's like you might not find it as easily. And yeah,
right,
yellow pages.
right. Let me make us bigger over here.
Whoa.
Oh, okay. So, new trailer for Marvel Animation. I feel like this is kind of funny because this has been in production, but it's coming out before they're even starting the new Spider-Verse movie, which was supposedly being split in two, and then it was not split in two.
Rough, dude. That's the only successful thing Sony's done recently, and you mess it up.
You mess it up. Yeah, and I don't know who's at fault there. I can't really tell because I haven't really seen Lord Miller do anything else. Like Lord Miller directed the first one, and then they handed off a bit of the second one to a co-director, two co-directors, I want to say on the second one, and I don't think they directed the second one at all. But I was nervous about that, but it ended up being great. If
Yeah.
not, could be a little better than the first, maybe. Um, so this I feel like is way too borrowed, way too borrowed. Okay, first off, uh, the throughout the entire trailer of this, and I only grabbed this screenshot. I didn't really want to grab everything. But the
Right.
problems I had with is I feel like they leaned a bit too much is on the I forget what the animation term is, but on the twos, on the fours, it's almost like every other frame is chopped out.
Okay.
As it was like a little like jumpy. And the point that they did, so that is stolen from the first Spider-Verse movie. I mean, it's been done in other ways, so I can't say it was stolen from, but it's done expertly in the first Spider-Man movie because when you saw Miles trying to be Spider-Man, they would skip frames and stuff. So it
Mm,
would look like he wasn't that good. But then when he's swinging with Peter B. Parker, once they get out of Alchemax, like once they're swinging, then his animation becomes fluid and then it becomes perfectly fluid when he jumps backwards,
yes.
and that's perfect. So you're showing an evolution of the animation, but here he's not going to be perfect. So every time we see Spider-Man, he's going to be on the fours or on the two, whatever it's called. You're going to see him kind of like I don't know. It just feels like a cheat. Um, you're
And
using the old Spider-Man cartoon music, which I guess you own, right?
yeah,
But you
good.
can't. So you're using that music fine, but when I think of Spider-Man and music, I'm thinking now of like Post Malone, and this is just feel. It feels like if I feel like if there's a Spider-Man animation, I feel like Miles should just be that. I feel like this is taking too many elements. Walking down the street, he's tripping over a cab. Like it's so similar in scenes from that. And also all his friends are what's that called? DEI. They're all
Oh yeah,
different
it's
races and
definitely Captain Planet tiers. This is his friends.
I think
They're
he's
all
yeah, and I don't know, is that Flash? Like looking at this, like is that blonde guy Flash? Like why wouldn't you use Tony Ravioli? You probably could get him, I
yeah.
imagine. You know what I
I
mean? Like
don't
why don't you use what we just saw?
they've been very back and forth on this show. Like first it's like his freshman year, and then it's like supposed to be the Tom
Right,
Holland Spider-Man, then it's not, and then it's because it was originally called freshman year,
right,
you
right.
know.
And now they're
So
saying it's not.
no, now they're saying it's not, and they're bringing in a Harry Osborn, and they're changing him. I guess he's blackish. So it's like is
I
he
thought it
gonna be
was a
that way?
girl. I thought it was a girl through most of it. When he gets saved, she gets saved. Like it was very, so two earrings and like a man bun, but the type of like it was in like an 80s like power suit. It was in like you know what I mean? It was weird. It was like with shoulder pads and stuff. It looked like I was like, what are you wearing? Like
I
I
don't
didn't
know.
know it was Harry Osborn
It
until like
it's
the
hard
end.
to yeah, it's hard to say what this is going to be until we actually watch it.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know. We'll
just don't
see.
know. But there's no Liz. Like it looks like that. Like I mean, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking it looks like Archie kind of like with the characters there. I guess because of the
Yeah,
letter there. But
the letter jacket, Letterman
yeah,
jacket looks like
but
it.
like
That is that an R for Riverdale? That's what it looks
yeah,
like.
what is the mid? It's a Midtown Eye, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. But I don't know. I just can't really tell. Then he has like this new like girl crushy girl that's with him, and I mean I like this costume. I know that Leandro Romero, who's a comic book artist, did the art for this. Chris Samnee did some character designs on it, so I'll watch it. I just feel like I feel like I fall asleep when I watch anything. If it doesn't interest me, I'm busy. I get too tired
You got to be in the
watching
right,
stuff. So
like reading comics. You got to be in the right mood. You got to want to watch it. You can't just watch it. Like we were saying earlier, you can't just watch it for content. You got to watch it because you want to watch it. And
yeah,
right now, I want to watch it.
right,
So
right.
we'll see. We'll see if my opinion changes. And here's the thing: I will, even if I don't like it, I will watch the whole thing because
I don't. I
I'm a
quit.
completist. I'm not a quitter. You know.
I think I got too much stuff to look at. So that's me. So let me see.
So January 29th, that show comes out,
So I just
and
grabbed a couple of screen grabs of the new like Marvel Legends. This character I always thought was kind of crazy looking. Is this
Marrow.
Marrow?
This
Yeah.
is Marrow. Yeah, from
Who's the slug guy? Maggot.
Maggot. Who's that? Who's
who's,
that maggot guy?
who's the maggot guy? Maggot.
Maggot. Let's
I
make sure
think
we
there
say
is a
that.
maggot in
Let's let's
here, but
let's put the make sure you put the T on it. He's not MAGA. He's
maggot.
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 Um,
Here's Husk. But I thought this is kind of fun. Like they do some poses of this was always a very
just
disgusting character, right? This is a Gen X character who was Sam's
let's not
younger
jump. Let's not
sister.
jump. Yeah, it's
Want to go
Sam's
back
younger
to
sister. Go back to Marrow,
back to
who
Marrow.
I think it was a Joe Madureira co-creation with
Mhm.
Lobdell. I just wanted to get that in there.
Oh, I
Um,
don't think so. I don't think so.
you don't think Joe Madureira drew her first,
I
or you don't think it was Scott Lobdell?
I'm gonna say it was Jeff Loeb and someone else. I think this was a Cable creation. I think this was in Cable. Oh, corrections department
No,
right
you won't.
here.
Nope.
Corrections department. I'm saying
Mark has been infamous for saying
no
right
way.
here. Here's the corrections and no
No way.
corrections.
I'm gonna write it.
Yeah. Oh,
Maggot.
he's writing it down.
Yep.
Who created
Corrections
Maggot?
department. I think I'm right. We should have bets. We should have an accuracy bet.
Okay.
I like that a couple weeks ago we were both right. We were both right about the Detective Comics
Right.
issue,
I
which
mean,
was
I was more right.
I was more right because because the story was the lift. The character of the dark of that,
But,
the
but
only,
we were
only
but,
the
but we were
art.
talking about the cover.
Oh crap! You know what? No, you know what's funny
What?
is if you think about. Well, I'll write this now. So the Batman. So the first appearance of Batman, the
Right.
story is lifted from a shadow pulp. Like the this framework of the story, it's almost it's like kind of beat by beat.
Right.
The art and even the first art of Bob Kane Batman, not the Bill Finger, like say, hey, maybe don't do that. Maybe give him a cape, put him in the dark, put a
Yeah. Yeah.
cowl on him, which we don't even know if that's true. We don't even know. We everyone's like, yeah, he all the good elements because I think they blanket retro continuity.
Well, you've seen the Bob Kane first Batman picture, right? Where he's in a red skin tight
Yeah,
costume and he's got like bat wings. But
that
prior
would
to that,
be, yeah,
he had
that
bird
would
wings.
be right, right. But that would feel very much like what you're saying, which is you're saying that he did swipe an Alex Raymond drawing
Yeah,
for
the cover to Detective 27 is a 100% Alex
swipe.
Raymond Flash Gordon swipe.
Crazy. One of
Right.
the most famous covers of all time. You know, we think when we think swipes, we think of the '90s where Liefeld homages the Ronin,
Right. Right.
through the gut, which I did. I saw that first. I saw Liefeld's
I
first.
saw Shatterstar first. Yeah,
Right,
correct. I
right.
didn't see Ronan for a few more years.
And then a year later, who was it? Fabio Laguna did an issue of Wolverine, and it was like 70%
Yes.
Jim Lee, and it was just
Yeah.
like lift, 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 and that was Rich Johnson, or
But
whatever
they
before his
but
Bleeding Cool.
but they were
He would have
told to
swipe
do
of the
that.
week.
That Fabio Laguna worked at Glass House Studios, which we've mentioned before.
Mhm.
Um, they were told to just swipe Jim Lee. They would have Jim Lee comics posted on the walls, and they would just swipe this, swipe that, swipe this.
Yeah, the editors, even though they were mad at all these people that who left and created Image, they would tell them, "Can you draw Herb Trimpe? Can you draw in extreme fashion?" And then he
Ian
did.
Churchill went to Marvel. He's like, "How could I get more work?" And they said, "Draw like Jim Lee." So Ian Churchill changed his style to draw a little bit like Jim Lee. He wasn't swiping,
Right,
but
right,
he definitely cross-hashed the shit out of his early work.
yeah. So I'm gonna say, all right, we'll see. We'll see who's right on this one.
You're gonna say Jeff Loeb and
I'm
who?
gonna say Jeff Loeb. I want to. Man, I can't think of who it is. It's like not German Garcia. I don't even think it was Churchill. I don't know.
For what?
I feel like I think the first appearance of Maggot is Jeff
Oh,
Loeb.
I thought it was Joe Madureira.
I'm not sure.
He definitely
We'll
drew
see.
her the best.
All right. Well, this I feel like this is a very art centric too, but this is
This is
Husk,
who was created by what? Scott Lobdell and Chris Pichello.
Chris Bacalo. Corrections Department.
Morning.
Just kidding. Um yeah, but I see to me like this looks like very like house style, and I just don't.
Yeah, it's hard to
I don't
make a
care
toy out of
about
Chris
this
Pichello
character.
artwork.
Right,
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 right. They have to be sullen. They have to be real sullen and stiff. You
right.
know, sullen and stiff. So, but I just thought it was cool. I like this. I think that's funny. Like they have like the gross face
Yeah,
like
the
stuff,
gross.
which I think
She
that's pretty
her
cool.
powers like she could change her skin to be metal or concrete or brick, but she would have to peel off the old skin first. And it was gross.
It's a very it's a very Bacalo post Shade the Changing Man. The
It's a
first
vertigo.
25 issues of
She's
Shade the
got
Changing
vertigo
Man is
powers.
just wonderful. They're so
In fact,
cool.
Gen X, it's Generation X, the comic, was like Marvel's Vertigo X-Men. Because Husk could like peel off her skin, and Skin could like stretch his skin, but then it would come back and be all wrinkly and ugly. Chamber
Right,
blew out half his face with his powers.
right,
Everyone
right,
just
right.
kind of all their powers sucked.
Yeah, and
They,
that just added to the overall theme of like teenage misery and grunge. It was very
yeah,
90s. It
it was
was
very
very
90s.
like
And
and that's
when
cool.
Monet's powers, wasn't she like her sisters put together or something, and it was something weird. Like M wasn't real at
I feel like
first.
I've never understood Monet's got powers. I can't
No,
tell you.
she's a great character later. Peter David uses her awesome in X Factor.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
and like maybe her two sisters were also M Plate, but they weren't. Like M Plate's her brother. The
I don't
villain
remember.
from Timeside last week, who like
Uh,
sucks mutant marrow with his hand mouths.
so I don't remember this at all. My book was last week. I don't remember it. And then this one, I thought the next that this is Salvador LaRocca's Extreme X-Men Wolverine. I
Okay,
just liked it that it's super squat. I just think it's a cool looking Wolverine. I think
yeah,
it's really good looking. So I'm happy with that. They're all probably again. There was a couple things online last week. I don't know if it's speculation or not, but they're scared. Collectors or speculators are scared that plastic is going to be more expensive because of potential Trump tariffs, right? So all the toys that I feel that should be 20, that should be 14.99, 18.99, 19.99, that are 25 to
yeah.
34.99 to 39.99. Yesterday, I was in a store and I saw the Spawn 77 with the Todd McFarlane two pack,
Yeah.
$60.
Holy crap.
$60. I don't want to spend an extra $30 on a non-accurate Todd McFarlane. Very, very, very handsome Todd McFarlane. So I'm just like, that's not Todd McFarlane. You know what I mean?
Todd McFarlane in 77. Now he's because McFarlane's what, 60? He's like 61, 62.
Yeah,
He's getting
I
up there.
understand that. Like, but I would have, it'd be really funny if he put out like if he put out like the naked McFarlane where he was in Philly and he was against Peter David
Oh
in
yeah.
the thing where he
Comes
was in a
comes out in
chicken
his boxers.
costume
Yeah.
and he comes out in the boxers. So yeah, that would have been better. But yeah, he's in like an outfit that's not a Todd McFarlane outfit, right? Like I don't know. He's in like a t-shirt with this. It's like he doesn't look like that ever. So I just don't like it. But yeah, $60. So they're rumoring that these whatever these are, I think these are 24.99 and 29.99 depending on the size. Maybe 34, but that these are all going to go up $5 a piece, which
It's
I'm
a
just like I
that's
barely
a legit
buy them now.
concern. It's a legit concern, especially with paper. If we do tariffs with Canada, like we get a lot of paper and a lot of printing from Canada. And a lot of the Marvel and DC aren't too concerned yet, but
Mm,
like all the independent people are, the Kickstarter people, like
mm,
they're pretty concerned, especially for because people get a lot of it's cheaper to print in China. So
right, right.
that's like the main.
A lot of the
Yeah,
omnibuses are all printed over there. Then they go on a slow boat. They're coming here. That's why they don't like to print them, and that's why they super advanced solicit them so they know, and then
yeah,
it's going to come like a
trying to
year
lock in that
later.
price. And
Yeah.
the sad truth is, like a lot of people during the pandemic and stuff before with the tariffs, they like books aren't supposed to have tariffs, but they were charging people tariffs anyway.
Mhm.
Because books are paper. They try to. I don't know. Books are learning, so they try to keep that separate from the rest of the tariffs. But when your stuff's sitting on a dock, you just pay because you want to get your stuff. I know people lost money. I think Frank Cho lost money on an art book because they charged them tariffs when they weren't supposed to. But you can't argue, otherwise you
You
don't
got to
get your
get the
stuff.
books. Right. You got
Yeah,
to get the books. He's got cons. He has dates lined up, so
right, right.
he's got to get to it. Um, all right, what do we got? All right, next up, here we go. Wouldn't be a week without a new Frank Miller cover. This
Yeah.
one I'm okay with, I guess. It's okay. It's better than the Deadpool Wolverine, which I have to screen. I screenshotted that. That'll be later on in the reviews day.
Listen, you got to embrace what you get. I'd rather get new, weird, indie Frank Miller than no Frank Miller. Right? That's the way you got to look at it. Is it
Yeah,
is it Dark Knight, Batman level? Great, of course not. Is it 1990 Sin City? Great, no, it's not.
right.
But it's still weird. It's still neat. Nobody else is drawing Red Hulk like this. It looks like comic book Hulk. Too many
Yeah,
times today, comics don't look like comics. That's a whole other discussion. This looks fun. It
yeah,
looks
yeah.
drawn. It's not AI.
Right, right, right.
So you give it credit for all of that. I wish the coloring looked more. I don't know. I guess Lynn Varley-ish. Give me someone who could do a good Lynn Varley impression. Like, don't give me like I feel like Frank Miller shouldn't be. Is this computer colored? I don't know who colored it,
Sure. Yeah, I'm
but
sure.
I almost feel like Frank Miller should be like, can you get someone to hand color this? Do something
I think
cool with it.
this looks more hand colored than the other ones I've seen.
You're right.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine.
Um,
It's neat.
Next up, we had a couple thoughts about this. So this is the complete unreleased four-book series of Schism,
Right.
which was I guess, Unity. I guess you like it was basically the Defiant comics, which were what at the time? Dogs of War
Warriors of
and
Plasm.
Warriors of Plasm, which was so
Good
Jim Shooter when he
good
left
guys.
Valiant,
Yeah,
the good guys,
the good guys.
which was
Jim
early
Valiant,
J.G. Jones. Lapham, of course.
Dave Lapham. Yeah.
Um, and I want to say that there was a recent Warriors of Plasm reprint in the last like 5, 10 years, maybe. I feel like there was something. I feel like there was something.
So
I've seen them around. What's funny about that is that was you couldn't read or they didn't want you to read issue one. So this was when trading cards were all the thing. So you would be able to buy packs of Warriors of Plasm cards, and then you can buy the binder, and then you can read issue zero before you read issue one.
right, issue zero was told across the trading cards.
So
So
it was kind of every,
the '90s, baby.
yeah, but Jim Shooter was, but see, what's funny is that like around that time, like Jim Shooter, when he left Marvel, was kind of like, I don't think it was a fracas or any fracas. I don't think there was any fracas back then. I don't know if that's the right word. Um, but I think towards the end of his tenure, I feel like he's grumpy. But then when we see him kind of recall stories, I feel like he's very business minded. So people will take that the wrong way. He rubs people the wrong way, I
Yes,
think, a lot of the time.
he succeeded in making Marvel a successful company. He took a company that was heading towards bankruptcy and got a quick reprieve from the Star Wars money. But
Mm,
prior to that, like they weren't doing good. Comics were being turned in late. They were getting fined from the printers, uh, and he fixed that. He got creators royalties. He did a lot of good stuff, and then he took away things that weren't fair. Like he was giving, like Marvel was giving at one point, like some of the artwork was going to the writers. Like what you didn't draw that. The artist deserves to get all their art back.
right.
He let that happen. He created all that, so he built up Marvel. But his success with Secret Wars went to his head a little bit.
Mm,
So when Secret Wars 2 failed, that gave Marvel the ammo to get rid of him.
right.
Um,
Well, Secret Wars, and then he's like, I'll just create my style. So I will do my style of comics. And I want to say there is an issue of, I think it's Spectacular Spider-Man. I know Comics Kayfabe went through it, of he created like his, like we talk about Liefeld talking about his like 7, 7, 6, 7,
right.
action, in the middle of the
Action, talk,
story,
action.
action talk action, right? Then that's what I feel like when we go into reviews day today. Oh, this week was a rough one. You know what I mean? Like in just rhythm. It's not, I don't stop reinventing the wheel. Just stop it. But I feel that the thing that always bothered me about Jim Shooter books is I just feel like, and even Mike Zeck talks about this, they're just zoomed out a little too far. Just zoom in
Yes.
a bit more. I don't know what
He
he loves medium shots, medium shot, medium shot. Just give me some cool close-ups. Give me better page dynamics.
the better you were, the more he left you alone. He left John Byrne alone. He left, you know what I mean? There are certain creators he would just leave alone. Mike Zeck, like Secret Wars should have been longer
Mm,
and given more room for Mike Zeck to really, because Mike Zeck's an incredible artist.
right,
Like he needed more room to draw. And when he went to Valiant, he started Valiant. He had a bunch of nobody. He was hiring the old guard,
all
and he
right.
was hiring
Don
new people.
Perlin, Bob Hall,
Yeah.
Alan Weiss, like, and that's it's and then some new people, Lapham, so there was some new people, but when he runs to, something happens at Valiant, he's fighting
Well,
with the
Valiant becomes
financiers.
so successful that the
Mm,
people kind of scum him over and steal the company away from him,
mm.
because he never really had he never owned it. It was backed when he started making money. Eventually, they kick him out, and he forms his own company, Defiant. He's defiant against those of Valiant. And Warriors of
Bravura. It's no
Plasm,
bravura
it's no
as
bravura.
title.
Yeah. So he was trying to create a tight new continuity, another universe.
Yeah.
But his thing was he had a deal with Am Toys, He was friendly with one of the owners of Amtoys. Amtoys was famous for Mad Balls. That's
Okay.
their biggest hit. So they had that Mad Ball money, and he had a Warriors of Plasm toy line all planned out. Stuff was getting sculpted, designed, everything was getting ready. And Marvel sued him for the Warriors of Plasm name. It was called Plasm at first. And Marvel's
Oh,
like,
that's right.
oh, we got a book called Plasmer. We're going to
Plasmer,
sue you.
which is a terrible Marvel UK book, by the way. Uh, early art by Pascal Ferry, and it was a female with a big, like kind of like big, almost like glow afro, like a what like a world like a wrestler. Well, she was like a wrestler. She was huge, and it
Yeah.
was gross looking, and it was a gross power. I want to
So
say too.
the books had nothing to do with each other. But Marvel had that sue money and they sued Shooter. And Shooter was always going to win, but it was going to cost them money and it was going to cost them time. And
Mhm.
costing him the time made the toys not a viable option anymore. So he could have lost a million from that, you
Mm.
know? So the comic book company started off from behind.
Right.
So by the time he gets to this, he wants to do this schism storyline. Isn't it funny? It's like Valiant. Well, I'm Defiant. Valiant does Unity. Well, we're going to do the schism. It's the
Right.
opposite of
Unity,
Unity.
schism. Got
Yeah,
it. You
it's
get
the
it?
opposite. Um, and the company went under during the middle of this crossover. So
Oh
this
man.
Kickstarter is like, hey, we're going to give it to you because we have stuff done. You know,
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I went through the Kickstarter, and this is I believe I just screenshot from like a Bleeding Cool, right?
right?
But there is no, and clearly those are computer coloring. There. Can I see any of this stuff? I can't. I cannot get over. Every week it's the same thing with me. I get it. I know I'm a broken record, but you're promoting this, okay? This is a visual medium. Last two shows I put out in too big a file. I get it, right? I'm putting out as 12 gigs of file because I'm putting out in 4K. However, I feel like if we're talking about the art, we're talking about the things we want to, the stuff we're referencing, we want to see it. We want
Yeah.
to see it.
If
We
people are
like it.
watching this show and it's just like half the YouTube shows I watch are up in a little corner while I'm doing other work. But
Right.
then when I want to see something, boom, I hit that full screen. I do want to see it in the best quality possible.
There's no, there's nothing. Okay. So you said when we talked earlier in the week that this is okay. So you have Jay Jackson, Jim Shooter, Charlie Aller, Dave Lapham, J.G. Jones, Dave Taylor. Dave Taylor before he went to DC, J.G. Jones before he did Black Widow, right?
Right.
Adler before he did maybe even Code Flash. Remember Code Flash? Is that right?
Code Flash is awesome. We'll
Yeah,
talk
Code
about it.
Flash is great. And then Lapham before he does Stray Bullets, right? This is early Lapham.
Right.
So you have a lot of like pure young talent on this stuff, right? And then they mentioned Janet Jackson down here at the bottom. Janet Jackson did pretty much all the colors across, right? Not superstar, good times actress Janet Jackson.
Right. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
Correct. But like, there's just it's so weird that you're talking about this. Clearly, these are it's somewhere that these are new covers by Dave Lapham. Okay, Dave Lapham works a lot for Bad Idea. Still has, I think he still has something coming out eventually. He did a pretty good book for. He did a good book rather for it's IDW this year. The Underneath. But I just like give me the art. Where's the art? You're
Yeah.
wanting to sell this, you know? And then here we go. So like I actually put in where is it? So now it's 56 days, and we even kind of mentioned it's normally a 30-day on a Kickstarter. You're
Yeah.
doing 60 days. It was on when it was originally published on the Bleeding Cool. They had 4,000. When I looked at it, it was 10,000. When I pulled this morning or yesterday, it was 14,000. It still seems really low, but the thing that we talked about that makes kind of no sense is that it's four issues, 180 pages, right? It's $80 to get four 80-page giants. $80. $80. $20 a book. That's just like I
So
don't know the math.
$20 for an 80-page giant.
Yeah,
That's not uncommon with Kickstarters.
I know, but you're talking about a story that is,
Only
you know,
that
40,
only
30
50
years
year
old.
olds only 50-year-olds want to read this story.
Right. No one wants like, oh man, you know what I'm really nostalgic for? And there's a reason why, like, look, Alien Books bought the Valiant properties, right? There's a reason that they keep rebooting. Exo Man of War, and they keep doing. And I feel like they have to make some type of profit because they're still doing it, and they're
Yeah.
doing really nice reprints of that now. They're doing really really good reprints of a lot of stuff. They're doing some replica editions. They're doing some good stuff over in Alien books where they're trying to represent the Venditti run of Exo Man of War, which was a newer run, which is great. But they're reprinting classic Rye. They're going to reprint some classic Exo Man of War. So they're doing
Did they ever
things
reprint the Acclaim? Because Acclaim Video Games is the one who ended up buying them. The Valiant was for
right.
sale for like a good year or two in the mid '90s, and Acclaim ended up buying them.
Acclaim
Was it
bought
what
them because they wanted to make video
video
games out of the
games? Yeah.
properties. Yeah,
Um,
smart.
and the Turok game was a huge hit. I had that
Mhm.
for Nintendo 64. That was a really good game. And I don't think I bought it. I think Shadow Man ended up having a game. I don't think I bought it. I don't know if EXO had a game or not,
I
but he
think
should have.
EXO. Well, didn't EXO have a game with Iron Man, or that was just a crossover? I feel like
I
one
did,
of the reason I think it's a video game is I think one of the covers is only a like video game-ish cover. Like it's not a Bart Sears cover or
you're
Andy
right.
Smith
You're
cover.
right.
And I'm like,
That is a true thing. So I don't know if there was a game or not.
yeah, we're
Your
not
research
gamers.
people.
We're not gamers. So even if
Yeah.
there was a game, we were not like I didn't have a
We
system.
we
You know, I
were gamers to a point. Like I had video game systems, but like when the era of PlayStation came about, I was kind of getting out of games. It was like I don't know. I think I was single. I think it was like post wife one, pre wife two,
oh
like
you were
your era, you know. So I was like more about you were married at that point. We weren't even talking at that point.
yeah
But like that was my
stupid.
bar, sometimes clubbing. Ugh, I can't imagine. Can
Oh
you believe I clubbed?
yeah,
So crazy. I wish I had
dancing.
more pictures. I wish I had more. Yeah, dancing. I hate dancing, but I'm not horrible at it. Not horrible. And you know what?
Where
For
did you
anyone
go?
single,
Wait a second. Where did you go? Did you go to
Philly, dude. Just well, I would do some of the Jersey clubs. I'd go to Adelphia's, and you go to. Remember Balloons? Balloons was this club. It was a really shithole club, but you would go there after all the other clubs closed. Like Balloons was open to like 5 or 6 in the
yeah,
morning.
now it's the High Nella Bar and Grill. Now it's called something else. I
Yeah,
don't live too far from that now, but
so
yeah.
gross, dude. People, you could walk into the bathroom and just be throw up everywhere.
Here's the thing is that everything closed and some places closed in Philly at 1 or they closed at 2. This
Yeah,
place was open till 4. And what was kind of great about it and horrible about it is that I would see a girl. I can't even remember some of the clubs in Philly. I would see a girl there in Club 1, see her in Club 2 in
eighth,
Jersey, be
eighth
the
floor.
Iguana,
Remember eighth floor?
the eighth
It was like
floor.
it was like an abandoned building, except
It
for
was
the
on
eighth
Front
floor.
Street. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was on Front Street. It
Front
was
Street near the Delaware River in Philadelphia.
Front Street is now that is now Columbus Boulevard. I think. I
Yeah,
think it's not
Columbus
even
Boulevard.
Front Street. But if you know if you say Front Street, you're like, ugh, because there's just blocks of old buildings where there's clubs would be not Iguana, Aztec. Does that sound right? Aztec
Yeah,
sounds right. Iguana was in Cherry Hill, and then that became Top Dog. This is very South Jersey little space here, South
yeah.
Jersey, Philly space that we're talking about.
My
But once you got to Balloons, the girl you hit on in 1 who didn't get with whatever guy she passed over you to get with, you would be like, I'm like, I don't care if I'm third or fourth choice. I'm still here, lady. Let's go. So
yeah,
that was kind of horrible and great.
yeah.
So, and I
My
think we would
friend
even say to, I would just be like, I'm still here. Let's go. Like
my friend was a DJ at the Cave, which was the the Magic Mics of Philly back in the day. So they had male dancers there. My
oh
friend was like, come
man,
on over. I think there was a club out front and the cave behind, but I didn't know they were connected. My friend's like, oh, come over. I'm a DJ. I'm like, yeah, cool. So I didn't realize what it was. But I'm like, oh, wait a minute. But as the girls come out of the cave, the ones who are single or not single,
right,
they were ready to go because they were like just seen
right,
like
very excited.
Adonis is dancing, and then here's like us like not bad looking at the time,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
Rob Messick of today,
right. Not
you
the
know.
handsome Rob Messick of today. No, I get
Yeah,
it. I get it.
good
Yeah, that's
times
good
that I won't
times.
tell my daughters about.
So how on earth do we get back to the story? How on earth do we get back to the
So
story? How do we get to that?
spiral,
Uh,
dude.
yeah.
It's the all struck spiral
There we go, baby. All struck by. We should have a little like tornado, like a little
around
little
yeah
tornado
around the
thing.
letter A. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So back to
So
schism.
yeah. So schism. I guess. Oh, we somehow it was a claim. We talked about video games. So I don't know. But yeah. So you're saying they've also they never reprinted when they had like another new wave there, which I'm getting some of the Bloodshots because I'm trying to fill in my Norm Brayfogle collection.
Yeah.
But that little wave was pretty cool, right? Because we had Brayfogle and Bloodshot. Let me think if I remember. Dan Jurgens on Solar, and
right?
then Tom Grindberg took over.
Yeah,
Jurgens still
and you
wrote
had
it.
the Bart Sears, Andy Smith Exos.
Yeah, and they came out every other week. It was kind
Yeah,
of
it was.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
did you know that book was offered to the Kuberts?
Oh no, that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, they were. All, I was offered to the Kuberts,
Huh.
and I want to say they were offered 40 grand an issue,
Oh my God.
and Marvel beat that and gave them each new cars.
Yeah, we need to do an incentive. Well, I know well, we need to do an episode on incentives because I know what Stephen Platt got a car too, right? Didn't he get a car?
He got a Viper. He got a Viper, and then convinced Liefeld to get a Viper because they just had that kind of money.
Oh my God. Cars.
Platt was pissed. Liefeld paid him like 40 grand an issue. He paid him 40 grand for profit, which is amazing because that's like his fifth comic. Here's the fifth comic you've ever drawn. Now you're making 40 grand. 55,
Most of the
56,
artists back
57.
then probably weren't making 40 grand annually.
Correct.
Right.
I don't know. It was the mid 90s. It was a different time, Mark. Today, for sure, artists aren't making that, which is
Right.
super sad. So
Right.
so Liefeld paid him 40 grand uh, to pencil and ink profit. And then the next issue, he started getting inking help from Marlo Alquiza. I think Marlo Alquiza's listed as inker, but
Mhm.
Platt still inked a good amount of it because he just couldn't let go. And Liefeld paid him a little less. He's like, what the hell? Why are you paying me less? He's like, because you're not inking it. Like I had to pay someone else to ink the book.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
It's in the budget.
So
Yeah.
so maybe he only got 35 grand. I don't know for a month of
Oh
work.
darn. Right.
Yeah, right. So
Right. That's Space Prophet. That's my favorite Prophet.
profits.
With
That
the
was good
blue
stuff, dude.
costumes, Prophet 3, probably
Oh yeah,
volume
yeah.
2, volume number 3.
Volume two. Yeah, good
That's
stuff.
wonderful. Wonderful. So I guess our biggest issue with this is it's very expensive. And I just don't know and it's also we don't think Jim Shooter's in this at all.
Yeah.
We
How do
think it's
you?
just stuff in a drawer and someone else has this and then they kind of have it and they're like, all right, we're just going to try to collect some people, finish it, and then throw it and then put it out.
Yeah. So what does 60 grand get you? And it's so specific. It's
61
61,000.
200.
Yeah. Does that get it? Does that get it colored? Because
uh
what's coloring? Is it $100 a page? Is that what they
yeah, I
pay
don't know.
nowadays?
Right. So
So that's a.
18,000.
Oh, you're right. That's a lot.
Hmm.
So is Lapham and JG Jones and Dave Taylor, Adler, they'll get a cut? I don't know. They should.
No.
Were
No,
they
that
even
because that
paid
was
for it?
paid probably. Yeah, I would think that's probably paid work for hire. They got paid. Maybe towards the end, we know of a lot of companies that towards the end when things fell apart, Pat Lee being the biggest culprit,
Ugh.
didn't pay out a lot of his people when Dreamwave blew up.
And people like Don Figueroa was such a like he loved drawing Transformers so much he kept working because he's like I'll get paid eventually because I think he just assumed he'd eventually get paid because he was doing the work. I
Right.
don't understand that. I don't understand how comic companies like I understand comic companies going under, okay,
Hmm.
but I don't understand not paying your creators because if you put that book out, you're getting money back no matter what.
Hmm.
No matter what, you're still selling. And I think Transformers by that point had went down to like 15,000 sales a month. So right off the bat, if you're charging $3 for the comics, you're getting $1.50 a comic. So if you're selling
Right.
15 grand, you're making $20,000. So you can afford to pay your artist $2,000 or $4,000 a month at whatever you're paying them.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
I don't get where that money's going. I know Pat
It's
Lee got
going
a
to Pat
Porsche.
Lee, baby. It's going to Pat Lee's insurance.
I don't know the Pat Lee side of the story. I don't.
No, yeah, I know. Well, because he just decided he's like, I'll just be out of the industry. I'm just going to be out. I'm
But he
out.
didn't. Well, yeah, he eventually left. But like once Dreamwave folded, he went and did the Fantastic Four X-Men miniseries for Marvel.
X4.
X4. It's a shame.
X4.
And he did a Superman Batman issue. He did number 7, right? The
7.
Superboy Robin issue. So he was still a viable creator. I don't know. That Transformers thing leaves a bad taste.
Yeah, I'm yeah, I'm not happy about that because a lot of those guys never recovered. A lot of those guys never recovered or resurfaced when IDW they didn't purposely I mean again, usually this is why like the Jim Zub of it all is very confusing because Jim Zub got his Conan job continual. That doesn't
Yes.
typically happen
Well,
ever.
Don Figueroa, IDW wanted Don Figueroa, but like Devil's Due signed Don Figueroa exclusive after Dreamwave folded because Devil's Due thought they were getting the Transformers license. They had vied for it. They were doing a good job with GI Joe. Hasbro didn't quite know what they were doing, and they were like, "Yeah, we're probably going to give you the Transformers license." So they signed Don Figueroa exclusive. They get Don Figueroa to draw a cover. It's this really cool Optimus Prime stepping over you cover, a little bit like the Giant Man, Alex Ross, Marvel's
Right.
famous
Okay.
image. Um, and then IDW ends up getting it,
Hmm.
and Don Figueroa is like, "Well, shit, I'm signed exclusive now," and IDW wanted him. I mean, IDW did fine. They got EJ Sue to start off the series, which is gorgeous.
Right. Right.
Um, which might have been better because I don't think Don Figueroa's people art was up to par yet. His Transformers artwork, nobody can touch Don Figueroa.
Right. Right.
But EJ Sue came in and he was an equally big Transformers fan. He had done fan artwork, he had done a bunch of stuff already, but nothing official. And his Transformers stuff rocked. And then Figueroa came in like a year later.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's that's the problem with signing exclusive deals.
Yeah, but it was necessary. I mean, that especially when things were falling apart, and now, we still have uh, once a week. There's usually a creator that's in some type of like medical trouble that they're doing Kickstarters, GoFundMe's, or doing something. It's a bummer.
That's the biggest medical insurance company now is GoFundMe. Like that's how most are getting paid. It's terrible. We have the worst insurance scam in this country. Don't get me started. Don't even get me
Don't
started.
even get me started. We had a tangent before the show started where we talked about Kyle Mooney. We talked about for some reason, I think, but then there's a
Him,
there's a Christmas special. I think it's called the Bruce Chandler Christmas special. You can watch on I think it's Kyle Mooney's YouTube channel, and he hosts it as a different character. But then we like this character called Bruce Chandler, who's a really bad '90s, I guess '90s 2000 like kind of gimmick comic,
yeah,
but it's almost like a Seinfeld. Like you see in this, that's my favorite thing. Me and my daughter says all the time. You see in this? You hear
yeah.
this?
You
You
hear
out there?
this?
You
And
see
then it just
this?
makes that really funny bad joke, and but the character's personal life is horrible. And he'll
Yeah.
like make the joke, it's kind of funny, not funny. Like you get the idea of it being funny, but it's not.
Right.
And then
Right.
he spirals into his depressing life, what's really going down.
Yeah.
And then he breaks back into his comedian character. It's a really good character.
Yeah. If you pull up, he was on Weekend Update. So when he was on Saturday Night Live, his character he brought over, but he would be on Update and would go through, and then they would poke fun at him either Jost or Che. They would kind of mess with him, and he would just get real sad, and then it's like, I'm just trying to get through the week, and then it kind of comes back at the end, where it gets a little happier, but it gets so deeply, deeply sad.
Yeah.
We know Kyle Mooney has this movement of sadness. I talked about Brixby Bear, which was a movie that took my daughters to, but it was pretty depressing. It was he was basically quarantined as a kid because his father was Mark Hamill actually, kept him in like this. He worked for the government and thought that we were going to. It was basically living in a bomb shelter underground, and all he had was a show called Brixby Bear, which was kind of like a Teddy
Mhm.
Ruxpin, Barney type of character. And when he gets out, when he's 30, and they raid the house and he gets let out, the government talks to him. It's pretty interesting movie, but then he's like, I'm going to go make the last couple uh, episodes. I'm going to finish the series. The series was never finished. So he finds the girl who was probably 10 years old in the show. She's now like 30, and he tries to film. He buys the old costume, and it's kind of goes way out there, but cool movie. And then you saw what was the show on? There was a
I
Netflix
forget the name.
show.
Yeah, he had a Netflix show where he had a bunch of like it was like Saturday morning cartoons, like a one was a Denver the Last Dinosaur take,
Yeah,
and also
yeah,
there was these twin brothers, like a very much like a Cole Sprouse type of a. You know what
mm.
I'm talking about the Sprouse brothers? They're like twins. They played
Yeah. Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
yeah, Sweet
Yeah,
Life of Zach and
I
Cody.
watched with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, so did I. And actually, he was the kid in Big Daddy.
Oh, that's right.
The Adam
Yeah.
Sandler movie.
Right. Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I forget the name of the show, but it did the same thing. It's cartoon funny, depressing. Cartoon fun,
Hmm.
real life funny, depressing. Like it was really, it's a smarter show than it is funny, which is like, I guess kind of like the Bruce Chandler. We find it funny because it's smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's super fun. So yeah, so they announced, and again, another bad press release, everybody. Shocker. Okay, the reason I think it's a bad press release is in the funny 2 weeks ago you talked about where is Patrick Gleason?
yeah,
Okay. He's on this cover of Amazing Spider-Man Ultimate Universe, but we only got cover A. Don't they flip book this stuff most of the time?
Yes, they do.
Then why? I don't.
And that is an Eric Larson Spider-Man pose, I believe, like a corner box. Like
It's
a,
pretty, yeah, yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
close.
That's slightly turned, but yeah. But the confusing thing is because I know they're not going to cross over, so you have the Maker, or maybe they will, but they're like this.
Well, the
Okay,
Maker's been to our universe, the Marvel 616.
our universe. Well,
Yes,
but here's the thing: is that so you have a Gleason cover. Interiors are going to be by JR. Okay, I guess. Like, and I just don't know if this is going to be before. No, because I think April is the new Amazing Spider-Man. So this is after because this will be in May, or
right.
maybe this will be a zero, or maybe this will come out ahead of time. So a couple things excite me. Number one, first off, um, I see another name there. So I see Dennis Camp and Cody Ziegler.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. We want Dennis Camp in charge of the Ultimate Universe. We want
Yes.
kind of Hickman to be kicked out. I know he's not going to be, right?
No, I don't want to be kicked out. I just want him to.
They're,
I don't know.
I want
Do a
everyone
little.
to participate in.
He's more likely to quit than ever be kicked out. He's a
Uh,
quit. He's a quitter.
right. He
He's
is.
oh man, getting canceled already, Mark. This is
Yeah.
this is our positive podcast, everyone. Remember we said we'd be a
It
positive.
is, but I just think that like it's the problem is that there's just really poor, and we're going to go through it. There's really poor editorial control, um, and I feel like they're trying to boost a couple of things. So I like that there's another name, Jonas Scharf. He did the Ultimate 1 year later, and he
Okay.
also drew the Conan Blackstone miniseries. Okay, so I love this guy. So I love this guy. That guy can work. Great. He's great. He's great, great, great. Um, and so I'm happy that that is a thing. And so we'll see. So exclusive promos at the Blockbuster event. Okay, so that's the ultimate. Is that Ultimate Incursion? So Ultimate Incursion is not
I,
Hickman,
I think this is the beginning of Ultimate Incursion. Yeah.
right? But that's not Hickman. Everyone assumed it was going to be Hickman, but it's probably not Hickman. Maybe it's Dennis Camp. Give him that.
It could be
That's
them
the way it
together.
should be. Yeah, maybe or it's Dennis Camp, Cody Ziegler. Okay, fine.
Because
I've only
incursion
read.
is such a Hickman word, you know.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. So, but then okay, so then they do. So they have Amazing Spider-Man. Whatever. It'll be a fine story by Joe Kelly and his
Right.
reboot slash non-reboot. Okay, second book FF. I feel like they're trying to upgrade the popularity. So it's still Ryan North, but it has Humberto Ramos on it. So automatically, and I want to say I put yeah. Okay, so here we go. So we got the
Oh,
Gleason
good.
cover here. Really
Oh yeah, it
nice
looks a little less
Gleason
like
making
that
himself.
pose. Seeing it larger
Still
now.
great, but still like in the same vein. I like the hand. That's really
Yeah.
fun. Hmm. Uh, Again, upgraded here. I know it's still that because that's the four redesigned by.
Right.
So it's still so there's going to be continuity, and you can't really see it here. But the other cover, I think they have some interior artwork. Is this a thing? I haven't read. I only read a couple issues. So does he have like a dirt stash? Like does Johnny Storm have like this like stash?
Yes,
Is
he's
that
had a
right?
mustache for like 30 issues. It was supposed to be a one issue joke, but then people just kind of went with it.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
look, I
it's
like this.
very
This art's cool. Like,
it
so I
is
mean, it's going to be
it's
neat to
kind of
see.
reminiscent of like remember when Alan Davis drew it for a couple issues
Yeah.
during Heroes Return.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
did
yeah,
three. He did the
it just kind of
Lobel.
has that feel,
Did
that
the Lobel
coloring.
three
Maybe
issues.
yeah, that was liquid coloring. Lobdell did three. Yeah, Davis. Then they handed over to Claremont and LaRocca, which is good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's. I'll see. Well, let me jump back to the solicits here. Um, so to me, can you imagine that any of these Marvel voices, do they make any money? Like, I just don't feel like they. I can't imagine those they make any money. I don't know. So then they're gonna have a Ironheart Marvel voices, which is they'll just. I guess it's all gonna be girls again. I don't know.
I wonder
It's
if it
so annoying.
actually does it does it sell, or not only does it sell, does it make people happy? Like
Uh,
if you're
Black innovation through the ages.
yeah, if you're I don't know, I'm not a minority in this country, so I don't know if this appeals. I'll read it, but like I don't know if I were black or gay,
Oh
does this make
man,
you feel better?
I didn't notice that. Look, Patriots. Okay, wait a second. Oh, hold on. Who's Patriot? Oh, that's right. Patriots.
Young Avengers,
Right.
right?
But then it
Isaiah
says
Bradley,
an
Isaiah
introduction
Bradley's
to a
grandson.
brand new Ghost Rider. Do we need another Ghost Rider?
Yeah, we were just talking about the 8 Ghost Riders last week.
We don't need another. We don't need Helverine. We need basically Danny. Well, let's see. Robbie Reyes is cool. I like.
Right.
I think that
He's been and
just
he's been a
wasn't
good
popular enough that it could hold.
It
I think he
wasn't. It
was
was cool, but you need a Ghost Rider. Listen, him in his car was cool. Maybe the Ghost Rider. Oh my God, I shouldn't even say.
I don't know
Maybe
what
the
you're
Ghost
supposed to say.
Rider. All right. Maybe the Ghost Rider is his brother,
Hmm.
who's
Oh,
in a
yeah.
who's in a wheelchair.
Yeah. That would be fine. That
It
would be
would be
fine.
kind of. It'd be kind of like it's the. I wasn't saying that's a
It's
joke,
Freddie
but
Freeman.
I was picturing it as a joke, but like I wasn't meaning it as a joke.
Right, right,
But
right.
a
But
kid on a wheelchair as a Ghost Rider is really interesting.
right,
You
right.
know,
And it would fit into the DEI stuff.
it would.
Right.
It would.
So that's
But
fine.
we're not anti DEI.
Yeah.
We just want to see it done naturally. I don't want to feel awkward, and we'll talk about that later. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to feel awkward. I'm reading these comics too.
Right, right, right.
You know,
Right. And then the Star Wars looks fine. I don't understand everyone on the same cover. So I got to see what they're going to do there. But Alex Segura is in there now. So I think because Alex Segura is writing some of the new Jakku stuff.
he's
So
writing this. I think he's writing the whole thing.
yeah. All right. So this I thought was okay. There's two bits of course because it wouldn't be a week without talking about James Gunn, correct?
Yep, that's right. Hashtag James Gunn.
Now James Gunn is kind of to me, I think notoriously bad at crediting artists. He likes to say he's this thing, right? So I don't know who drew this, right? Because
Right.
he puts this on his Instagram. It was on the Instagram stories him announcing Jason Momoa as Lobo. So there wasn't an official press release here necessarily. A lot of interviews kind of came out when I think it was the Aquaman 2. Someone was talking about this is the end of the Snyderverse, and he talks about when Snyder brings him in just to being interviewed and just talk to. Doesn't say which character. So when he gets the call and says, "Hey, he's like, well, I'm Lobo, right?" And he's like, "No, you're Aquaman." He's like, "You're what?" And then Snyder had to pitch him, "Well, this is my Aquaman, blah 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 blah." So he accepts it because, of course, he's getting a phone call and he's going
Yeah.
to take it, right? Because it's
Right.
probably a lot. Hey, there's a bunch of money and there's a bunch of movies to be in. And he's got okay, fine, but he always just wanted to be Lobo. So, and then when Gunn got hired, there was all these rumors like, oh well, me and I've
Yeah.
had talks with
Gunn had to do a
people.
meeting with every Snyder actor. You know,
Can we get recordings of that? You know what I mean? He'll be like,
I would
hey,
love it.
everybody, like, because again, he comes off as this like very friendly, but he has to be in a certain angle somewhat ruthless. He's firing people. I mean, Wonder Woman 3 is not happening. Okay, we're
Yeah.
we're all aware of this. Like that's like to me, that's money in the bank. I understand they really flubbed too, sure, but then you just severely course correct. No one, no one thought that like what I don't want for a bit. I don't want Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Said zero people. The Snow White movie is struggling to hold everyone's attention because the evil, ugly queen is one of the prettiest
It's
women in the
gorgeous Gal
world.
Gadot.
Right, right, right. They're like, oh, who's the fairest of all them all? Me. End of movie. You know what I mean? Like there's no like what's the movie?
Yeah.
What's the movie? Like so Rachel Zegler's not, attractive, but like she's attractive, but her personality makes her horrible. Anyway, so I don't know. So two bits of James Gunn news. This is fine. But
Yeah. It's weird. We don't know. Like, there's so much great Lobo artwork out there. I don't know
yeah,
why they chose this piece.
it seems like an AI piece, man. It
It
seems
looks
like
like an
it's
AI piece.
yeah. I don't know.
It's
I don't
very
know.
weird. It's very weirdly colored. I don't get the
Is there
American flag and
fireworks in the
fireworks.
back?
He's
Yeah.
an alien. Like,
I
what
don't
does he care?
I
He's not
don't know what
American.
this is. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. I
Weird,
don't. I think
weird
it's
move,
new.
James.
I feel like it's a new right.
It
And then
feels like
he doesn't credit that. And I said that I texted my brother one day when he posted like a Supergirl image. James Gunn posted a Supergirl image which had one of the 616 comics like variants. And I
right.
texted my brother. I'm
Your
like,
brother's variant comic book company.
yeah, yeah, the 616 comics. So like he James Gunn posted that or put it on a story. I was like, and then he put it on his main page, and I was like, you need to credit the artist, you need to credit where it's coming from. And later on he did, but it's like, come on, man. Like, that's because
Whoever James Gunn's
technically
second is, listen, you or I should be hired as James Gunn's second. We'll be his social media. Like, listen, he's busy. I get how busy James Gunn is. We
mm,
care about this stuff, and he might care about it, but he's just too busy to double down on it. I totally get that.
right.
I understand it. So but he just needs someone better to like. If you're
They
going to
need
be
to take
James
its
Gunn
own away.
comic book DC guru, you need to have someone to double check everything. What's the name? George R. R. Martin does. He's got fans that double check his stuff.
Right, right, right.
Because as a creator, you forget, you know,
Just brutal. I just think you need that.
it's
Yeah.
brutal.
So
So, so when we heard about this news, I immediately said to you, well, if Lobo's going to be in the Supergirl movie, and that's where Lobo's making his debut,
mhm.
in 2 years, you got to give us a Lobo paramilitary Christmas special. Like you did your Guardians Christmas special,
Mhm.
do an official Lobo paramilitary Christmas special. It'd
There
be
is a one on YouTube, right? There is a
There
fan
is a
film one.
fan made, yeah, and it's pretty good. I don't think I watched the whole thing, but I've
Yeah.
seen bits and pieces of it, and it's a pretty good Lobo. Lobo also appeared on the Krypton show on Sci-Fi,
Mm.
and that looked pretty good.
Right.
The less you saw of him, the better, because the more you saw of him, you're like it's not great. It's pretty good. It's the best. It's better than a fan Lobo.
It's better than the Adam Strange on that show who just had a baseball cap.
Yeah, it was a weird Adam Strange. Pretty good Lobo. Pretty fantastic Brainiac. You
Yeah.
know,
That's the
and
best Brainiac.
one of the things I hated about TV shows, us and our tangents. Um, but we got to get the points out while we think about them. You waste Not that you wasted Brainiac on a Krypton show, but I feel like it did. Like I would rather have seen a big screen major debut of these characters. Like the Supergirl show only succeeded. One of the reasons it succeeded because you kept stealing Superman villains because
Mhm.
Superman movies never use them.
Right.
So it's great, but you're getting like a watered down version of it. And I feel
Right,
like
right,
the
right.
Lobo and Brainiac, as good as they were on the Krypton show, is a watered down version of what a movie and that movie money can get you. you know. And I feel the same way about the Sony Spider villains. I feel like those are
Um,
watered down versions of what a Marvel production or a Sam Raimi production would have given us of those characters.
yeah, I mean the Madam Web is just not even close. And not even
No,
close to any of the Spider Women and you put all the Spider Women in it. Put
yeah,
Aranya, you put
I don't know if we
everyone in it.
ever, I don't know if we ever would have got to those characters in movies.
And
So
how do you make like Sydney Sweeney unattractive in a movie? Way to go. Good
I
job.
mean, she's not unattractive. She's just not. You have a woman who looks like Black Cat in every way possible,
Yeah.
and like, oh, let's put her in like a schoolgirl outfit, you
Yeah.
know, and she's what is she? She's Julie Carpenter.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, she's cool in the costume, hanging upside down. Like Sydney Sweeney embraced the characters. She's reading the comics and she's practicing being upside down. Like she's doing all this stuff. Like I like actors that really, even if she wasn't a comic fan before, when they get the parts, the better ones really embrace the character.
Right, right,
You
right.
know,
Right.
so
Like Nicolas
spiraling.
Cage. All right, so this was in the last I guess Creature Commandos, and here's the thing. It's funny is that there's a clip of this scene that I saw on whatever. And seriously, does someone have like does someone something have like the whatever band, whatever like Pogues slash the Clash band, is that the whole series? The
It
first two
seems to,
episodes made me crazy because it was the same band and the same like
yeah.
I don't want that. The whole series? So 8 episodes has that every episode, if there's going to be any type of action, you're going to have this band. So if I don't like that band, I'm stuck slogging through the balance of this thing. I
I
might
guess
never get through it.
well, you should. How far into it are you?
Two. I never went past two.
All right. Well, episodes 3, 4, and 5 are like great.
I know four is supposed to be the sad weasel one, yeah, like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I think seven.
But
There's a GI Robot one, yeah. Like so,
that's
basically
that's that's
the
episode 3.
Sean Gunn one, the Sean. Okay, so I didn't even get that. So the
Yeah.
Sean Gunn ones, basically, the Sean Gunn voiced ones are the best character ones,
Well,
right?
Dr. Phosphorus was this week, and that was pretty great. That was the Alan Tudyk. Oh, it's brutal. You got to
Alan
watch
two
it. And
penises, Alan two dicks,
Alan Tudyk's
Alan two
and his
penises.
brother Alan Three Dicks.
So look at his dumb face. James Gunn, get out. Look at this guy. So there's a video of this. He was on some interview after this thing, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not ready to commit to that." So they have artwork of a Batman. Now listen, Batman has a million costumes. Yeah, there's a
He
million costumes.
he
So do
he
you
is
mean to tell
he is
me?
rich,
You mean to tell me that if you show a Batman costume here, and then they
right?
put out a Batman 7, 8, 9 years from now, but directed by Andy Muschietti, if they ever put that fucking Brave and the Bold movie out, whenever the hell that's going to come out, yeah,
Yeah,
and
get
he has a
angry, Mark.
different costume here. Am I going to be like, that doesn't match up with Creature Commandos episode 7? Who gives a shit? Like, it's just like, I don't understand. I don't
No, it's true.
understand Like he's like, well, yeah, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, more silhouette, more silhouette, more silhouette. That's what he says the whole time.
Yeah, he should have showed up in the
Fine.
zebra costume.
Yeah, yeah. So listen, showing the snow, like I mean, like that was the thing in the '90s. They just had like every version, like after they had like Legends of Batman. Yeah, like some of the toys that they had like ski snow like snow slope
Right.
Batman, right? It's snow Batman. Whatever,
Yeah.
fine. That's cool. That kind of throws back.
They were
But
all they were all
if
Kenner, right?
if you just have a tech, yeah, they were the weird like proportion. Their arms were like their arms wouldn't be articulated to be like this,
Right, right.
so it's kind of goofy. But
And then
I
later that
just
Extreme
don't
Justice line.
I just don't care about this show, and I can't deal with like
Okay.
this clashes thing. So
On the
anyway,
opposite of you, I like the show. I enjoy the show.
it's fine.
But also I like that style of music. I'm into that whole Pogues, Dropkick Murphys, Dropkick Murphys and Flogging Molly. Flogging Molly was my shit. I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
them like
that's right.
5 times.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
just saying, I'm getting annoyed. It's
Listen,
annoying.
man, James Gunn, he's the king of putting music into superhero movies.
Get different music. Different.
But you know what? It's almost like even though it's I don't know who the band is. I did no research, but I wonder if they're that Eastern European style of that punk music that the country's supposed to take place in. Like it's supposed to give you that same
Oh, I
feel
see.
of that
Yeah.
Eastern European country. So maybe that's what he's going for. That you haven't really arrived at since you've only watched 2 episodes.
Uh,
So we'll
I
talk
don't
more
want to. I
about
don't
it.
want to. I don't want to feel like these are chores, right? I want to enjoy this stuff. We talked about this earlier,
Yeah.
where I want to enjoy the stuff, and I don't want to feel like I'm doing everything just for content, even though that's what I'm doing, sort of. Just like this. So,
It's like, yeah, you're doing everything for content, but like at the same time, you'd be doing this stuff if we didn't have a podcast. We would still be watching all these shows and reading these comics and
right.
enveloping the news. This is just uh,
Sorry, every
it's
day.
our phone conversations.
Yeah. Sorry, every
We're
day.
just recording our fat asses now.
That's correct.
And if anything, it's a continuation of Legends Forum from 30 years ago. So technically, this podcast
Yeah.
is 30 years old.
Yeah. That's correct.
Everyone, that's
That's correct.
we've been doing it before anyone, before
That
John
is correct.
Suntress. We've this one.
Yeah, well, I think that's what a lot of the YouTube community is about. That's what a lot of the what originally was the message boards were about. Originally was
Mhm.
the APAs, right, where people write letters to each other, Roy Thomas, alter
Oh
ego, all that
yeah.
stuff. So like, it's always kind of been around. Discussion's always been around, but now it's just a little bit easier to do. And now there's so many different outlets here. So this I never saw this piece of artwork, but and this will be something I can try to dig around and find. But this was on Conan the Barbarian on underscore official, literally the official licensing of Robert E. Howard Conan. Here's a still, means there's more than one, from the canceled animated Conan film Red Nails. So you're going to adapt Red Nails. So again, I've read Red Nails. I don't know. It's been done 3 times, maybe I would say, through Dark Horse, through Marvel. I feel like it's
Mm.
been done a bunch of different times. I want to say that the Cimarron and that they Blaze did a Red Nails adaptation too. So there's a ton of them.
Okay.
So now we're gonna have an animated one. Cool. But I don't know if I don't know when this was, but then it says voiced by Ron Perlman. Okay, who should voice the Mighty Barbarian now? Does that mean that there is going to be something? Like I don't know what that means.
That's
So
hypothetical. Like,
I'll dig
like
around. I'll see if I can find something on this. There was a '90s like Conan the Adventurer cartoon, but he
right,
had like extra stuff on. Like he had like a hat and a belt. Like he had like a
right.
crowny thing and a belt.
I didn't watch that. I tried not to watch. At one point in the 90s, I'm like, yeah, I'm done with cartoons.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's
But
pretty good
I
stuff.
was you're never really done.
No, so I'll dig around on that.
Okay.
This I'll probably throw some art in. You got to go. You get your person there, or you got to.
No, no, not yet. So I'll let
Okay,
you know. I'm surprised. He's late.
late.
He was supposed to be here at 3. Then he's like, oh, I'll get there at like 11. I'm like, all right. Then he's not here
Yeah,
at
this
11.
was a real. I don't know. I could see if I could try to push this in. I think I might be able to. But this was kind of cool. It was like a time lapse of Stephen Butler drawing the pencil. This is his commission from for Spider-Man commission, but it's kind of like a bunch of different characters.
We
I
we
just
do
like that
love
the
we
art
do love Stephen
is,
Butler. He was a penciler on Spider-Man in the 90s,
yeah,
which we brought him up before. He did a Savage Dragon commission. He got more notice. When was that last Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie? Was that 2 years ago now?
I guess 2 years ago. Yeah, when he,
So they did kind of his version of Scarlet Spider in that movie. And
Mhm.
since then, his name's been brought back into comics. I think people are getting more commissions from him. He's still a super talented artist. And looking at this commission here,
You're doing a lot of work. Yeah, because those are all real colors on paper. Like that's all watercolors and stuff. Like he's putting a lot of work into it. So again, I'll see if I can find it because he didn't post the whole image. So I have to I was trying to screenshot it and stuff. So, but it was pretty cool.
yeah, trying to time it
What's
out, I can see.
what's cool about it is that like so the all of the art here is not exactly from it's not lifted per se, but that's a Ron Friends Hobgoblin, right?
Uh,
That is a kind of like a Gil Kane, Mike Plug Morbius, and that's kind of like a Perez mm, uh
Man Wolf.
Manwolf, yeah. And then it's like but he drew it in the era where he was doing like maximum clonage and carnage and all
Yeah,
that
like the
stuff.
Venom is very maximum.
So that's
Uh,
cool.
Jack o' Lantern. Now, Jack o' Lantern, he became Hobgoblin 2, right?
I think that's right.
The
Yeah.
the one with the demon face is him, I think. I'm trying to remember my 80s and 90s
And who
Spider-Man.
was that? Carrion?
Karen, yeah. My Wayward Son.
Wow. Dan. Dan
Dan,
McGowan reference. Well,
that's right.
sort of. But yeah, overall, like that's again, I like being on Instagram with a lot of these artists, and we've been seeing a lot of Conan artwork that Liam Sharp's been putting out, so we get to kind of see, or it's stuff that they put on, and then eventually it's like uh, they're manifesting it, right? Like I mean, if you give me a one shot, so when they should do these throwback miniseries and stuff, and they just hire some guy from South America or some Italian guy, right, from
Right.
Italy, because probably the page rate is
They
cheap
pay
or
him in
whatever,
pasta.
right? They probably pay him low. You know what I mean? The guy who did Lethal Protector 2 or whatever they call it, they just call it Lethal Protector. They're so lazy they wouldn't even call it 2, right? So dumb. It's just called Lethal Protector
Yeah, why
again.
isn't Ron Lim drawing that? He drew the Silver Surfer book, right?
Yeah, and he did the designs on that. We'll talk about that. The basically the What If Galactus.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
What
later.
it's the punctuation's all wrong, by the way, too. I'll talk about that. That's more
Yeah,
of a
that's what
of
people
a
want to hear.
of an English. They want to hear about
They
punctuation.
want.
They want to hear about punctuation when they talk about the comics and how
Did
it's
you
wrong.
did you see? I think it was Stephen Butler recently. I don't know if you have the picture or not. He took a Kurt Swan Superman
Oh yeah,
picture.
yep.
Do you have that or no?
I almost pulled that up, yeah, but I'm writing it down.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Um, and
He did three in a row. He did
yeah,
three different ones.
right. But the one was the new Superman costume in
For
the Kurt
crypto.
Swan pose, and
Mhm.
that's it's pretty awesome. It's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, he did three. I think pretty sure he did three, unless one was a duplicate of that. But yeah, I saw the new costume. So he did the new James Gunn movie costume with that crypto, uh, you know, and
Yeah.
inadvertently. So that's it for news. Do you have any other
So
news
Stephen
before I?
Butler, like just to finish that up,
Mhm.
come on, Marvel, get this dude a special project. I don't know. I don't know his life. I don't know how busy he is. I don't know if he's doing this on the side. He could have a regular,
He
real
does
crappy job.
cons. Yeah, he does conventions now. So,
Right.
but I don't know how much he's making off the commissions, but he lines
Well,
up stuff.
well,
You know.
more. That's the
Mhm.
that's the problem of today's comic world. You do better with conventions and commissions than you do working for Marvel.
Mhm.
But like, I would still like to see him do something. I'm surprised one of these Kickstarters filled with a lot of guys who have a couple bucks who want to do their comics that they've always dreamed of, and a lot
Mhm.
of times they're hiring these artists from the 80s and 90s. Who's the guy who does the book with like Ron Friends and Sal Buscema? Um, he does like a Silver Age style comic,
Oh yeah, I have a
blue.
couple of those. Yeah,
Like he kickstarts them, pays Ron Friends and Sal Buscema,
and they
and
come out as
who's
like
he?
80-page giants for like 5.99 and stuff. Yeah.
And then he does try to get them distributed. He tries to recoup some of that money.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm surprised one of those guys haven't picked Stephen Butler up yet to do their version of whatever.
Right. 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 Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if you do these miniseries, like, do you think that they're going to be more expensive than they probably would be asking me? Maybe they're asking more, and maybe they have been approached. There's a reason why Ron Friends. Well, he might have just did the Silver Surfer, those couple miniseries in a row, which they should collect all together. I'm not sure if they have a collection of that.
They probably will, and I'll talk about that later with the news.
Mhm.
So they'll probably do something. I'm sure they'll do an omnibus of. They just keep going until you fill an omnibus with those Silver Surfer,
Right.
Ron
Right.
Friends, Ron Mars stories.
I was in place last night, but it wasn't really on sale. But Jim Starlin did a bunch of Thanos um, graphic novels, like individual, like 80-page, 96-page, and then Alan Davis did two or three of them. So it'd be Starlin, two, and then like three Alan Davis ones, and a Starlin and Alan Davis. And they did a Thanos omnibus. It's like $100, and I was at a place last night, which we'll talk about actually next. Is that I went to a couple places yesterday, um, but they still wanted like 79.99. I'm like, I'd pay
Dude,
$40 for it, maybe. You
I
know.
want to hear the story of why Starlin left that Thanos series. Because remember, people are like, oh, why'd you leave? He's like, well, you got to ask Joe Quesada. I'm like, oh, that's a
Oh, I thought you
specific
talked about that.
name.
I thought you talked about because like he had a story and then Donnie Cates did like a story that was almost the same. I thought you talked about that.
I don't
Where,
know. I don't know. It
yeah,
doesn't seem like a reason to be fired or
uh,
not doing the book.
well, he just didn't want to do. I feel like he thought that he. I think it was well. Remember,
Oh,
you know,
so you're
so
saying they brought a story to him to do. He didn't want to do it, and then Kate's kind of did it?
no, Cates
Or are
already
you
had
saying,
it. I think in process, and then from what I think happened again. Well, corrections department.
no, you won't?
I probably won't. But I want to say that like where Kate's already had that going, and then and then Starlin submitted, or one of the two. I think Starlin submitted like, oh, we already are doing something like that
Hmm,
similar. You need to change it. And he's like, I'm not changing it. I created Thanos. I'm not changing it. So I think it
right.
was an attitude. And listen, if Starlin's going to be mad because he's had a couple things I've heard different on different interviews where he gets mad, it's very uncomfortable. It's like when your uncle like curses and it's like, oh, it's very, it's really weird. It's like a drunk uncle.
Oh my God.
uh
Do you remember the story where Pete Pete Holmes, I guess when he had got the what's the stock baby? The eBay
the E-Trade baby.
E-Trade baby.
Mhm.
When he got that job, he was up against John Glazer. Like, and he's brought up they were at a comedian, they were talking, they were on a dais. He's like, it came down to you and me for that job. But it made John Glazer real uncomfortable. He's, oh yeah, that's great. And I think he like got angry about it. He's like, Holmes like, what's the deal? He's like, oh yeah, it's so cool. Like you made all this money and I had to go, I didn't make that money. Like, like
It's job, bro.
actors,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And it's just a reality of acting. You have 10 people go out for the part or 100 people go out for the part. But like, I think John Glazer almost took it like I won and you lost, John. But Pete Holmes wasn't like framing it that way. He was just like, how neat is it that you and I, two totally different comedians,
Right.
were up, we almost
Right.
got the same part. Like that's interesting. And Pete Holmes wasn't the first E-Trade baby. I think he was like the second or third, but he probably did it
Right.
the
Right. Right.
longest.
Yeah, it's goofy. It's goofy, the weird resentment of it. And there's also people who like just kind of laugh it off. Like there was an interview I saw this week with Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe apparently was supposed to be studio was pushing Russell Crowe apparently with with a writer. So he was supposed to be Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. It's the first time I heard this in
Huh.
Lord of the Rings. And it's the first time I heard this, and they said, yeah, and they were going to give me 10% of the back end.
Ooh.
And then so he was on Stern, and Stern told him that he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I didn't do it. I auditioned, but Peter Jackson didn't want me, and I only know this because Peter Jackson's a Kiwi like me from New Zealand, and I always thought he was Australian, but I guess he's from New Zealand, or maybe it's
Who,
I don't
Russell
know.
Crowe or Peter
Yeah.
Jackson?
Well, they're both. Well, I know Peter Jackson's is from New Zealand. Kiwi,
Right,
the
right.
slang of that
Yeah. That's
would
their
be
slur.
right.
You
So he says
Kiwi.
another Kiwi, and he says, I know when I talk to him, his body language said, I don't want you in this for this. So he like didn't take it. He's like, I didn't want to take it because Peter didn't want me there. He's like, he didn't tell me exactly, but I got it, so I turned it down. So he's
Huh.
not mad about it. You know what I mean? Like Russell Crowe's not necessarily mad about it, but I almost feel like Russell Crowe on one of his divorces, I get this, is that I feel like he lost money on one of his divorces because he sold a bunch of his Gladiator stuff a couple years ago. You could bid on it, you could find it, you can still find it out there. I think Sotheby's or someone did the auction, and you can see all the stuff, and he
You
sold all
know,
of it.
John Oliver
John Oliver
bought
buy a lot of that, yeah.
yeah,
Is that
he
right?
bought the no, he bought the underpants, the gladiator shorts or whatever, and
Okay.
sent it to the last open blockbuster in like Alaska to like try to get people to come
Oh, that's
see
right.
the last blockbuster. Like, here you go. Here's the gladiator briefs, you know.
Yeah, John Oliver. We can kind of, well, before we go to my stuff, we can go to the kind of end the news with this. Is that John Oliver
Well, I want
this
to hit
week?
two other go on.
Yeah, this week. Well, this might even talk about some of that. This week was a lot of Popeye went the beginning of 2025. Popeye went into public domain last year because there was a public domain story on I think CBS Sunday Morning I watched, and this woman was talking about the pluses and minuses of new public domain stuff happening, right? So they had the bad Winnie the Pooh movies that they're keep getting sequels. There's
Right.
a
The
there's a Mickey
blood and
murder.
honey.
Yeah, there's a Mickey one that's coming out soon, like a Steamboat Willie Mickey one that looks just it looks like it's made in a basement. It looks horrible. but they kind of make money. So, people are kind of curious about it.
Yeah,
Tintin hit this week, yeah. So
Tintin
Tintin
and
and
Popeye both
Popeye.
hit public domain this week, but it's the original version. Like you don't have much for Popeye. You have Olive Oil because she predates Popeye. Like
Castor
we
oil.
had talked about castor oil, yeah, and
Mhm.
olive oil. So yeah, little by little, the things are dropped. Tintin, I never really got into Tintin. Like I always wanted to. I think I read one or two books. So I know like there's a lot of major characters who aren't public domain, but Tintin is, and I think it's dog, right?
Yeah, what's weird about Tintin is that movie that came out, the Spielberg movie, was supposed to be a trilogy, and I want to say Peter Jackson was supposed to do the next one, and Edgar Wright was supposed to do the one after that, because I think they both had a hand and produced it. That first one, I want to say that Edgar Wright wrote some of that screenplay or something, did a
Dude,
rewrite on that.
it's hard to get these.
I can't watch that movie. I don't
It's
like
it's
that art
hard to get
style.
those movies. Yeah, but they probably should have been animated differently because they just what? They straight up CG, right?
I want to say they did almost like some facial rotoscoping, not necessarily like because it was Jamie Bell, and I want to say that I saw some behind the scenes footage where they might have dotted his face or something like that. So when
What's
he
the
was
name? What's the Samurai Jack guy?
Ben
Is it
Grimm, James, oh yeah,
Tatarsky?
Gendy
Yeah, yeah.
Tartakovsky. Yeah, there is
He
a proof of concept Popeye trailer,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, he really wanted to do a Popeye movie, and I would love to have seen that. But like, would it have made money? The Peanuts movie barely made money, and I thought that's kind of good. A little
It
slow, but
is,
good.
yeah, it's good. It's good, but I feel it's a oneer. I feel like the new. I even think like, yeah, the Lorax I thought was a oneer. I feel like when they adapt them, something's missing. That's Illumination. I think did that one too. Illumination.
I
I feel like are always oneers.
I don't think. Well, there was an Apple Peanuts show, right? I don't think I watched that. I don't think. I
The
think I
Apple
just
Peanut shows, unfortunately, the way that they do the Apple, the way that the peanut shows are done, technically are faithful because they're taking, but they feel like little vignettes because all they're doing is taking a week's worth of strips. Like when they did the
okay.
Christmas special, and then the Christmas special was original.
Hmm.
Actually, it's kind of interesting. If you go online, you can watch the differences between the Snoopy Christmas, the Charlie Brown Christmas, because there's a lot of stuff where they have product placement and they have different like extra slightly extended scenes where they had like a billboard and then they had like brought to
Well,
you by Kellogg's.
as
Like
long
there's
as
a
we're
lot
not
of extra
as long as
stuff.
we're not sitting around smoking like the Flintstones
Right.
cigarette commercials.
Right. So
Hey, Barn,
there's a
nothing
lot
better
of
than a
extra stuff.
cigarette after work.
There's a lot of extra stuff. So I
Well,
just
gee, Fred, these are really smooth.
yeah, but it's funny that Tartakovsky can get that made because he made what did he make? He made Primal.
Oh, Primal's really good. Did you watch it?
I love Primal, yeah.
Okay, I can't wait
Primal's
for the. I
amazing.
can't believe they're doing a third season. I was like, what? They are.
I feel like he
Like,
just makes enough money like on like the Transylvania movies, which are just kind of bad. Like I think they just make money,
they're not.
so
It's like it. I almost don't think they're written sometimes, or it's like they have a loose outline and they're just like, hey, let's just talk because we're all
yeah.
friends, and it's just those movies amaze me. I only saw the first two, and they're like a little
It's
bit
like
funny.
four. Isn't there like
I
four
know
of
there's
them?
like four, if not more than four. They keep
Uh,
going because they're just so profitable. Because the kid just because you know what, like yeah, if I were a 10-year old, of course I'd want a Hotel Transylvania series. Give me Wolfman and Frankenstein, and that's awesome.
mhm, mhm.
And those things, I hope they're universal because those things are keeping the Universal monsters alive more than anything else Universal can do.
Right, right.
I
Well, it's
hope
funny.
Hotel Transylvania is Universal. It's got to be.
I imagine so. So, and what
So
other news?
real
Yeah.
quick spiral back to because that Russell Crowe doing Lord of the Rings like kind of blew my mind a little bit, but it made me think of two things. One, I love that Russell Crowe was in that. There's like this Australian actors club where it's like you're people want you to be Wolverine. It's like you're in the almost Wolverine club. Like because it started with Mel Gibson because people wanted Mel Gibson to be
Right,
Wolverine for
right,
so long. So it's just a string of Australian actors, and it's funny because who ends up being Wolverine? An Australian actor,
right,
Hugh
right, right,
Jackman.
right.
I don't know, just something about being Australian and almost being Wolverine. It's a funny club. I don't know if
Yeah,
Doug Ray Scott's is Australian or not.
I think maybe, yeah, or he's British.
He's something.
God, it's so funny. Thank God, Mission Impossible 2 went over. Well, Russell Crowe talked about that too. They said you were almost Wolverine in the same interview when he was talking to Stern about Gladiator, or talking to Stern about Lord of the Rings rather. He says, yeah, but I never would have been able to do what the longevity of that. because now he's like fat Russell Crowe. Like I never would have been able to do it for 30 years. You know, he's like so good, happy. It's over there, fine, no
Yeah,
problem. So
yeah. Because nobody expected X-Men to be this what it became. Everyone thought X-Men was going to bomb. Mark Miller was writing Ultimate X-Men while they were doing the X-Men movie.
mm,
Remember, the original Ultimate X-Men was a government agency. They were going to be government X-Men, and he had a whole different thing going. It's strong. There was a Wizard X-Men special that actually shows you like the first 10 pages of this Adam Kubert
oh,
drawn
that's right.
Ultimate
Yeah.
X-Men government agency.
Mm.
And then I remember Mark Miller saying, because we all know the X-Men movie is going to bomb. X-Men movie comes out, does not bomb. People love it. Marvel's like, you got to change the X-Men, Mark. You got to go back and rewrite your series. And they had to go back to the start and remake the X-Men to be in the same vein as the movie.
That was Adam.
Adam,
Mm.
Adam
Adam
Kubert,
Kubert.
Ultimate X-Men. It's a good run. Um, but the other thought I had, because who ends up getting Stuart Townsend ends up getting casted for Lord of the Rings to be Aragorn, right? And they start
Yeah,
filming with him, and it
and
just doesn't work, doesn't feel right.
Dorian Gray. You mean
Dorian Gray from
Dorian
the
Gray from
League of Extraordinary
LXG?
Gentlemen, the
You mean
LXG.
LXG?
So bad.
LXG.
It's funny. I don't even hate that movie. I don't think that movie's bad. I think it's bad
Yeah,
in comparison to the comic. The comic's like this masterpiece of literary characters, and the
yeah,
movie's just like it's almost a parody. The movie is like if you were to like make a parody of a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie, they did it.
right.
If you were like make a '90s version, like it's a
Because
parody
they
of
add
itself.
in Dorian Gray's in that. And Dorian Gray's not in the comics, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Alan
then they
Moore
add Tom Sawyer. Was it
and
Tom
Tom
Sawyer?
Sawyer, which is like age wrong.
But they
Um,
have Tom Sawyer as if he's like 20 years old and is like a gunslinger.
yeah, yeah. It's a bad addition.
Cool.
And they were I don't know if she was rumored to be in it or fans just wanted it, but people really wanted Winona Ryder to play Mina Harker because it almost would have been like a
Right.
semi sequel to Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis
Yeah.
Ford Coppola. That would have been a funny like nod.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves. Someone posted, they're like, remember this masterpiece? And they cut all the pieces together of Keanu Reeves doing the bad accent. The worst accent ever. Like it's the worst. It's so bad. Not that I
Yeah,
can do a British accent, but like
no,
holy
or
mackerel.
retain it. You could probably get a couple lines out, but to retain it is very. It's easier to mimic. Like he probably would have did a better job if Francis Ford Coppola would have hired like an English actor to say the line and Keanu just to parrot him.
Right.
You
Just
know,
have an earwig. Like now it's like probably all earwig stuff. It's like, all right, just say it and I'll say it. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah,
a lot of
that's
stuff now.
exactly it. That's exactly it. There's been talk of like a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen TV series for like the past 20 years, like since that movie, which I don't think bombed. But people kind of like it on cable. Like people talk about that in a
Oh
positive
yeah.
way,
Yeah. That's
and that's
was that Steve Norrington? That's director of Blade, I want to say. Does that
yeah.
sound
I
right?
think I think you're correct.
Boom.
His problem is he wanted too many takes. Like he's like another trying to be a Kubrick, a
What are
Stanley
you,
Kubrick, but
David Fincher? Get out of here. Come
yeah,
on, you're Steve
but he's not.
Norrington, buddy.
He's not. And that was I think part of the arguments with Sean Connery. That was Sean Connery's last film that he
Right,
acted in.
right,
Um,
right.
Sean Connery,
Giving you gold here.
who was also uh, almost in Lord of the Rings. He turned down Gandalf,
Right. Thankfully.
thankfully, because would he have been able to do as much as Ian McClellan? And Ian McClellan, just I can't imagine anyone else being Gandalf.
No, no. That's yeah, I did there I got that I saw that the Lord of Rohirrim is out, but I saw it on like it was for rent or something else. It's like 2 hours. I can't
Wow,
watch that for 2 hours, man.
I will.
I
It's
don't
on
know
my
if I could do
list.
it.
I'll
I don't
watch
know
it
if I could do it.
before.
So, so pretty much every weekend, if I'm near a spot, is that all your new stuff?
No,
You
I
good?
want to talk
Oh,
about
one more?
and I one more. I
Always
guess
got one more.
yeah, Bleeding Cool put up an article about the Omnibus is coming out
All
from
right.
Marvel, from everyone. And they're pretty neat. The first one is X-Men Blue and Gold Omnibus, which collects all the Jim Lee issues of X-Men, the first annual.
Oh, that's right.
It
Yeah.
collects the Portaccio issues of Uncanny X-Men, the Ghost Rider crossover. Um, the thing that threw
With
me, I don't.
Ron Wagner art.
Yes,
That's what I
yes,
want.
Jim Lee covers, and then X and these omnibuses they're always like 80% of what you really want to see collected, and then
Mm,
20% of like Mia.
right.
Like the Liefeld X Force omnibus came out a couple weeks ago, has got like the post New Mutants pre X Men annuals that came out that year that have X Force in it, but it's like gang yap through this one, or
Right,
you
right.
know, uh, it's like
And
I
no
don't really.
covers. And they also had none of the covers there. They had none of the Magnolia covers like reprinted for some reason.
I thought they did. I thought they were
Mm-mm.
in there.
Nope, no dice.
Okay. Um. Yeah, so that's weird. So they got this cool X-Men one. What I don't remember, it's got material from Marvel Comic Presents '89. I know that's post Weapon X. That's during Sam Keith's Wolverine run, so I don't know what the story is in that. That would be. I didn't look it up. No research. I just saw this morning.
89.
And
Oh
then
no, 89 is it Guang Yap again? Is it when he was like on the reservation? Wasn't he like an Indian for a while? He had like an Indianish costume. Is that the one after that? And then I want to say Sam Keith comes back.
no, no, Sam Keith did from 80, he did a straight run of 85 through whatever, 8 parts, 93. So he picks up exactly where Weapon X ends at 84.
Yeah, and there's
But
actually a Sam Keith like black and white like Weapon X pinup, right? In one of the issues.
in the Barry Smith run, yeah, like he asked
Yeah,
them to do a cover, and I guess they didn't use it for a cover, but it's cool.
I don't think
So
that's anywhere.
that's a whole thing. The second omnibus is the Nam, so that's
Oh
cool.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Collects 1 through
but what do they
45 and
call it? They call it something weird though, right?
just has dates like the Nam 66 through 69.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, that's so. Is the Punisher in there? Oh, the one of the covers too. Kind of an odd choice. One of the covers is they have the John Romita Sr. cover, which is
Yeah,
an issue with Thor and like
it was like a what if the Marvel superheroes fought in Vietnam.
right, but it's literally in the Nam comic,
Yes.
which it I don't know. But you're right. It's like a what if story inside of the Nam comic, which is but they make that in a B cover, a direct
Yeah.
market exclusive cover.
Um,
Nobody wants that. They want the Michael Golden cover, please.
of course, because that's what it's about. The next one is it collects the Symbiote Spider-Man, all the Peter David, Greg Land miniseries, that have been coming out the past like 5 years.
No.
They weren't
Um,
particularly. They're not bad.
you
I'm
know
not.
what? If listen, if Peter David listen, give him money.
It's
Give
true.
Peter David money. Peter
Yeah.
David's made plenty of money. Like, and you figure that the different Hulk stuff, all the Hulk stuff in the movies, the Hulk, Smart Hulk. Can you give him a piece of that $1 billion?
Yeah. They're not.
No.
Unless the only money these guys are getting is from collections, and hopefully it's a decent amount.
Yeah, there was a Maestro one they did a couple years ago, which double dipped a little bit because they have, but who cares? Like print Future and Perfect all the time. Print Future and Perfect as a gallery size, please.
No,
Right?
and one of the things I brought up to you in the past, um, was that he did a novel called What Savage Beast.
Hmm.
Peter David wrote a novel. It's a really good novel. It's it takes place in his storylines and then kind of veers off in its own direction. Um, but throughout it, you have pages. The chapter pages are by George Perez. So you got a novel filled with George Perez original art. And I said, these should be like hidden gem Maestro covers. You
Right.
know, some are really detailed and some are just like almost sketch level, but they're
Right.
all
Right. Right.
good. And Marvel should utilize them. Maybe it's because whoever published the book was a Ballantine or something, or
Yeah, Del
one of
Rey or
those.
somebody. Sure. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know if they have.
Tor.
I don't know if they have certain rights to it or not.
Right.
Um, Everything's going crazy in my house right now. Dogs barking. People are here. Hopefully, you're not hearing it
That's
too
fine.
much.
That's fine. No worries.
That's real life, folks.
Yep. So,
Um, the other omnibus, they're doing a Namor Submariner omnibus, which is phenomenal. This collects all his Tales to Astonish stories. I don't know if people
oh,
know it, but
yeah.
Tales to Astonish uh, became an anthology, and it was half Namor, half Hulk. It
Mhm.
actually Ant-Man debuts in Tales to Astonish. The sales on the Ant-Man, Giant Man stuff don't really do great. So when they cancel Hulk at issue 6, they put him in a Tales to Astonish book. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
Hulk and Namor for like 20 issues. So it collects the Tales to Astonish stories. It collects the Submariner Iron Man one shot. And what those those are two stories that were supposed to be in an anthology,
Hmm.
but they end up canceling the anthology series, Tales to Astonish, Tales of Suspense, and gave it to Captain America and Hulk.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm like semi-distracted, so I'm not telling the story particularly great. So it has that one shot, and then it has a Namor series from 1968, and then a bunch of his uh, Fantastic Four appearances, and his Not Brand X story. So it's a really cool
Got it,
Namor
Marie. Got some
omnibus.
Marie Severin. And I was going to mention Marie Severin. Um, and because I want to say, I don't know if I think it might have been a slogan. I'm not gonna say I made it up, but I did a series of Marie Severin posts for a while where I did call, I did some Namor posts, and I put like make mine Marie. You know what I mean? Like just kind of like I don't know if I made that up. I might be in something. I'm not sure, but um, so her Namor work because it's a couple issues of Buscema starts kicks it right, which is kind of the template that was
Yeah.
kind of a thing. You know, he did the first issue of like She-Hulk, I want to say, did the first issue of Miss Marvel. Like it's like Buscema does issue 1, and then it's like whoever they got around. Um, Dazzler, he did the first Dazzler, I don't remember, but anyway, but the Marie Severin Namor art is so good.
It
It's
is good.
so
She
amazing.
she's a super talented artist, and she's it's weird how much she draws like her brother, like
Mhm.
John Severin and Marie Severin. I guess they just grew up drawing together. I wonder if she did work in. Remember we were talking about Snafu the other week, the one of the Marvel
Oh, it's very
timely
possible,
Atlas.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Well, it
you
might
know
have
who
been
did?
before her time. I'm not sure. I know Joe Manley did.
Joe Manley did
Joe
work in Snafu.
Manley. Hmm.
Well, I don't. It's not before her time because John Severin did work in the Mad Comic before he went cracked exclusive in the 50s.
Yeah, and I want to say he had like an Indian guy that he used. It was American Eagle. Might have been American Eagle before because they put out a collection recently. It's our Two Mars might have put out or Fantagraphics put out a John Severin like Western like specific hardcover.
Right.
You know,
And it's funny that he was actually good friends with Joe Manley. Like they were good friends.
Joe
And they
Manley
both
was decapitated. I want to say, or was that? Yeah, that was. He got in a bad car accident. I'm pretty sure that was the
oh,
reason he
okay.
was decapitated.
Horrible.
Yeah,
Horrible.
horrible, horrible.
Just to finish this up, a Thor Omnibus collects a bunch of stuff from the I guess the late 70s, early 80s, 229 to 266.
Yeah, it's the Keith Paul. It's a lot of Keith Pollard, a lot of there's some Buscema stuff
It's
at
yeah,
the
it's
end.
Jim Buscema, it's Conway Ween, and then I guess it tails into Walt Simonson some.
It's pre-Walt Simonson, Walt Simonson. So there was
Gotcha.
a lot of Walt Simonson inside of that, but it's inked by I don't know if Palmer inked it, but it's 70s Simonson acclimating. It's like Chaykin right around that time too. It's like Chaykin, it's Chaykin Star Wars, right? So Chaykin Star Wars is acclimated or it's inked over by Alcala or it's inked by somebody that's house style. So it's
Right.
house style Thor. Doug Slack mentioned Doug Slack. I think he told me one time. He says if you think about the Simonson run, every issue of Thor has Thor standing like this. He's got the hammer. The hammer's down by his side, and after the Simonson Beta Ray Bill, where it literally breaks it, it really breaks. It literally breaks the Thor logo. Right.
Hmm.
Every issue of that, the corner box is Thor going like this with the hammer up because he never had his hammer up. I mean, in poses, sure, but every picture of Thor's hanging out with hammers to the ground. You know, just a funny observation. Doug
Yeah,
Slack.
it's funny. It's funny because like the covers are showing Thor's holding the hammer up, but I guess that's just the cover. Maybe covers hammer up inside hammer down,
Yeah,
getting the hammer down.
get the hammer, put the hammer
Um,
down.
Also a Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch Omnibus Volume 2 collects all the stuff Ghost Rider 25 through 40, and
Nah,
then
that's the
Darkhold and
that's
Midnight
the less
Suns.
stuff. Yeah, it's funny they're throwing all the crossover
It's
stuff right in there,
yes, the
which is
holiday
cool. That's
special,
fine.
Marvel Comic Presents. Um, so yeah, it's
That's all
cool.
the Ron Wagner. It's Ron Wagner to Ron Garney. So that it was a different, but then it has Andy Cooper coming in with a lot of Joe Cooper things. So that's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, the one cover.
But they
This
don't
is
have
I feel like this
the.
is kind of shitty, but the one cover is the Jim Lee Ghost Rider. So it's like, yeah, probably the best Ghost Rider artwork from that era.
I don't think so. I don't like his Ghost Rider.
No, he really wanted to draw Ghost Rider. I guess he was
It's
trying
the
to compete
worst.
with
It's not the worst, but yeah, the McFarlane Ghost Rider's fantastic.
yeah,
Dude, that is the cover.
yeah,
Dude,
right.
that Spider-Man falling. Is that in there? Is that in there, or that was?
Uh, the Web of Spider-Man is.
No,
Remember where
that's
Ghost Rider
the
shows up in
Alex
Web of
Saviuk.
Spider-Man? Yeah, Saviok.
No,
It's all yeah. Yeah,
I
not
mean,
the
listen, Ghost Rider was the Wolverine at that time, man. Ghost Rider was in every third book.
Scott Morbius #1. What a bunch of weird stuff, dude.
They're doing the Rise of the
Yeah,
Midnight
yeah.
Suns crossover. I thought they had a trade for that last a year or two ago. That's fine. I mean, listen, they even have like a Darkhold. I guess when either the WandaVision or whatever came out, they had a Darkhold like trade. It was like everything, but it was like $40. I'm like, I'm not buying a Darkhold trade. You can get all those issues for 50 cents. You know, so
Right.
um,
That next is up Something is Killing the Children, 1 through 20, which I haven't read yet.
They're doing it deluxe. I read the first. I think I have the first two trades. I'm going to wait until it's all done. I made the not mistake, but I felt like the Deviant. I thought that was just going to be ended. I thought it was for whatever reason in my brain it was going to be a finite series. And I read the first like 6 or 7 issues. I thought it was over, and then that's still going. But that's a Tinian. I feel like I just need it all to be done. When it's done, I'll do it. Like once in future, I feel like I should start. But because I tried to start to read that when I knew that was ending, I just got bored by it. It was Killian, but it was just like or Kieran Gillen, and just like I just as cool as Dan Mora's artwork was, it wasn't holding me, and I don't know,
And
I'll
this one
eventually
you
get back to it.
probably already know about, but it's the Savage Sword of Conan, the original comics Omnibus Volume 6,
Yeah, they have to fill it in.
1,000 pages.
Yeah, they have to fill in. What's good about what Titan is doing? Oh, and actually, that'll kind of dovetail into something where I argued with a store manager yesterday. So I'll get into that in a little bit, but that's pretty fun. Yeah. So let me go into, is that everything for that? I want to go
That's it.
into my
They talk
yesterday's
about
things.
they have a thing for Conan Volume 7. It just is written by Chuck Dixon, and that's it. They don't have any information. I'm like,
Because there's so many artists then. It was there's Val Rick Jeff Isherwood, Silvestri. You had so many artists like popping in and out. You're just gonna throw a Chuck Dixon in there because he was probably the most consistent writer in that timeline. But what they're doing there is that basically Marvel printed a ton of them, and then Titan is going back and reprinting the ones that are either completely out of print or the longest out of print, rather. So, because they put out Savage Sword of Conan Volume 9 like 2 months ago. So they're going back finding out what is the longest out of print. And then they're printing them very specifically, which is really cool. And then Titan is doing different alternate covers too that they're deciding. Which one art director decide there was an interview with the Titan people on I forget. I don't know if it was on. I forget what it was on. If it was on Word Balloon or not. Um, but they talk about how he pitches like, "Oh, I want this cover on," and then they say yay or nay. Like they have the cover that was already on the Marvel versions, and also the spines. Instead of saying Marvel Omnibus up top, it just says I think Titan Comics Omnibus, but they're still red, still the red band, so they match. So
okay,
great job,
that's cool.
Titan. The only
But
thing that I might eventually splurge on if I eventually buy the Conan Omnibus. The only problem with that is that the Creatures on the Loose story, which is not technically Conan, I don't think, but it was a Conan archetype. It was Barry Smith and Roy Thomas. That's in the Marvel Omnibus, but Titan does not have the reprint rights to that.
oh,
So I would have to buy an original Marvel one, which I know is 200, 300, 400. Like it's never
yikes,
expensive.
yikes,
Unless I find it in West Cyborg One, which is in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. That's where I got my John Carter omnibus, and that was like $50. Like it was on like their story, and I'm like, go, add to cart, purchase,
all
because
right.
that is not around.
The last two omnibuses I'll just go through quickly. One's Monsterwood. I'm not familiar with that comic. I mean, I've seen it, but like, I'm not familiar with the creators. Jason Rosen, but it's drawn by Steve Ellis. Steve Ellis is a good artist.
Oh,
He drew you ever read The Silencers? It was a miniseries put out by
mhm.
Moonstone. And then I think Image did one issue and it just didn't sell through Image.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
Steve Ellis is good. He's kind of I feel like a day player. He's been in stuff.
yeah.
That has a good amount of stuff.
And then of course the next World of Black Hammer Omnibus.
Can't
It's got a
believe there's
bunch,
so
but it's
many.
like Jeff Lemire, Patton Oswalt, Scott Snyder, Jeff Johns. So it was all those one shots and stuff.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's kind of nuts that there's still so much content of that.
Yeah,
Hey man, put those library collections out. Those are wonderful size formats. Whatever is going to give
yeah.
him all the money. Give him all the money.
So, all right.
So let's wrap it up. So stay tuned for reviews day. Reviews day. I'm
We'll be
excited
out this
about
week.
this one's a pretty good. And he'll be out this week for show. For show. So it's been pretty the rhythm I can pretty much have it set now, you know. So I think I just got kicked out of my screen share. Right? Or no, I am. Oh good. All right. So I just got a notification that the video we did earlier is good.
Good. So you
Okay, good.
guys will have it soon. Mark the
Yeah, I should have
editing
it tonight.
king.
Yeah, I should have it out tonight. I should have it Sunday. So Sunday, Tuesday has been pretty good for me. Like I think that's been pretty good. I can usually knock this one out. And so Sunday, Tuesday. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. Stay tuned. Like and subscribe, socials, send it to people. I was talking about
Comments.
I want to get some business cards this week because I feel like when we go to different places, we should just drop drop cards, with our links on it and things like that. I feel like
You know what? You should print out. Maybe we should print out a couple flyers. Like if you go to a store, say, hey, do you mind if I put a flyer? Like, hey,
yeah, a
we'll
lot of
talk
times
about your
there's
store.
places for it. Yeah, I
Tell them, say,
definitely I
listen,
always tag the stores. I always talk about the stores. Yeah,
yeah,
so that's cool.
we're not looking for advertising money, but if you could just have a flyer up or
I'll
let us
take my
put some.
markdown. I'll take my discount if you need it. But I get it I mean, listen, everybody knows me. I've been collecting for 30 years plus. So they go, oh yeah, well, how about this? Or it never is what I think it's going to be when I go up, which is hard. We talk about that
Collecting
when
for
we,
35 years,
yeah,
buying for over 40.
yeah,
We've had comics since we were what, 5, 6, 7.
yeah.
Transformer
Yeah.
comics,
I'm
Spider-Man
sure I got some
comics.
type of allowance or something like that for doing dishes or something. Go up to
It was
Seven
usually like
Eleven.
a gift or like my cousin, here's a Spider-Man comic.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right. You guys have a good week and we'll
Have a
talk to you
great
on
week.
reviews day.
Reviews day. All right, I'm gonna hit the recording here.